Logjam atop the East Division of the CFL. It will be broken tonight at Skydome as the Argos and Bombers are all set for a first-place showdown. For Matt Dunnigan, the name of the game is consistency. He's the Canadian Football League's leading passer by a long shot. 3 weeks ago in Winnipeg, he set a record that may never be broken. But for as much as the Bombers have been on, they've been off. Slippery fingers and drop passes have transformed kindly Cal into concerned Cal. Tonight, Dunnigan will try to lead the Bombers to their first road win of '94. They'll face Mike Kerrigan, a reborn veteran quarterback. He started slowly in Toronto, but after being signed to a new contract and named the Argos' marquee player, Kerrigan is playing the way he did when he came into the CFL 9 years ago. It's Kerrigan versus Dunnigan in a first-place showdown. CFL season moves into its second month tonight. There was a nasty thunderstorm in southern Ontario earlier today, and so the roof at Skydome remains closed for this meeting of Winnipeg and Toronto. The Argos knew it was going to take a while to win back their fans, and by now they're hoping the word is out. This is a much improved football team. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Skydome. I'm Scott Oak. Well, for pretty much the last 2 seasons, a journey here was a virtual guarantee of 2 points for the visiting team, but now with a record of 2-2, it would seem unwise to take the Argos for granted. In fact, the Bombers should know that from last season. They came into Skydome on week 11 of '93 and were beaten 35-26 by the Argos. The game marked the return of Bob Obilovich to Toronto. For personal motivation, we refer you to Matt Dunnigan. He has never won at Skydome as a visitor. Played here for 2 years for the Argos, won his share of those games, but this building has not been kind to him as a member of the opposition. 4 teams in the CFL's East Division each have 2 wins, and it's often intra-division games that decide who finishes where, so need we say more about the importance of this one? But hey, count on us to try, because we're only 2 minutes into a 3-hour telecast. Pinball Clemens not playing for the Argos tonight. He's out with a shoulder injury. And now with more, here are James Curry and Don Whitman.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, everybody. James Scott referred to the Argos this year as being an improved football team. One of the reasons they have a 2-2 record is the improved play of Mike Kerrigan.
Mike Kerrigan has really stepped up this year after being named the team's #1 starter. He has started quick in the first half of both games, averaging over 300 yards. But in the second half, he's had that inconsistency. And that's one of the things, Don, that he's going to have to improve on tonight.
And he'll be working against a couple of new defensive backs for Winnipeg. Kim Phillips returns at the corner, and Anthony Shelton moves from safety to a halfback spot.
A big challenge, especially for Shelton, having to work against Jeff Fairholm. Drage, also the wideout, had a big game in his first game as a starter for the Argos last week with 2 touchdowns. A big challenge for Phillips on the corner.
And I think Winnipeg, during the course of the game, will throw a lot of 6-back defenses against Mike Kerrigan.
Mike Kerrigan will see a lot of different changes in the secondary tonight, and it's going to be a big challenge. They need to get some pressure up front against him also, Don.
A couple of teams at 2-2 looking to move into sole possession of first in the East. Scott?
Don, we're just about set for kickoff. It was a quick turnaround to get Skydome ready for this game. The divine Miss M, Bette Midler, played here last night. Skydome staff worked late into the night to change the building from Concert Bowl to football stadium. They were still working late this afternoon to complete the changeover, and they'll be busy again tonight following this game because the Jays open a homestand here tomorrow night. And so from Bette Midler to football to baseball, Skydome's a busy place. Bette Midler plays Winnipeg later this month, and I guess that'll do it for the weekly CFL on CBC Concert Report. But how about the big news out of Winnipeg these days? The city secured the Pan Am Games in a close vote in Ecuador over the weekend, and so tonight, Don, the Bombers would like to offer their own personal toast to the Winnipeg bid committee. We're at room temperature with the roof at Skydome closed. Don?
Yes, the Winnipeg Bid Committee successful in acquiring the 1999 Pan American Games. The next big international event on the sporting calendar in Canada is, of course, the Commonwealth Games in Victoria later this month. But right now, the focus is football as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers prepare to kick off to the Toronto Argonauts. Titus Dixon back in the lineup for the Argos, along with Bobby Gordon, to receive Troy Westwood's opening kickoff. Dixon takes it at the 10-yard line. And Dixon brings it back to the 32, loses the ball, and the Bombers have got it.
One of the things that caused Titus Dixon to be removed from the starting lineup was his ability not to be able to hold on to the football. And right here we see it on the opening kickoff.
Well, Bob Obilovich, in talking about removing Titus Dixon from the lineup for the last game, said he has broken our hearts so many times, but he has a whole bunch of talent. But he has broken Argo hearts with his fumble recovery on the game's opening kickoff. Alan Wetmore recovers, and the Bombers are 1st and 10 at the Toronto 31-yard line.
Brandon Rogers was the defender who stripped that ball away from Dixon on the play.
Jamie Holland, a receiver in the lineup, replacing David Williams. A throw into the end zone, incomplete, and it was tended for Gerald Wilcox. Matt Dunnigan looks for his twin Geralds, the inside slots, Wilcox and Alphen, to take some of the pressure off with the absence of David Williams, gone for the season with a torn Achilles tendon, something Matt Dunnigan can relate to. He suffered that season-ending injury in October last year against Sacramento, but he has counseled David and told him, I'm sure, how to go about rehabilitation and making a comeback.
Well, one of the all-time great touchdown reception leaders in the CFL, David Williams, will sorely be missed by this Bomber offense.
Alfred Jackson is the target. Incomplete. He was being covered by Eddie Thomas. So Dunnigan, after the opening kickoff fumble, attempted to go to the end zone on the first 2 plays. Wilcox on the first pass, Alfred Jackson on the second attempt. But the Bombers will have to settle for a field goal try by Troy Westwood.
One of the things Matt's like to do is stretch a defense. He likes to go over the top. He likes to throw the deep ball, and he's one of the quarterbacks in the CFL who will do that consistently, and he's been very effective this season in doing it.
Troy Westwood, who has struggled through the first part of the season with a 38-yard field goal attempt, and this one is good. Westwood in practice the other day was 14 for 14. He had some problems with his plant foot. He was struggling early in the year through training camp, but he has been working on improving his accuracy and changing his stride just a little, and it certainly paid off on his first field goal attempt here at Skydome.
Well, the key is that they were able to get off lucky with only 3 points. Titus Dixon put the Argos in a big hole early in the game, but the defense that has been playing so well for the Argonauts, vastly improved over last year, were able to stop Winnipeg without getting a first down, and that was the key. Can they hold Matt Dunnigan in check for the most part this evening? They came into the game ranked number 3 in the league, and it's going to be a stern test for them tonight, Don.
Well, Troy Westwood has to certainly have his confidence buoyed by hitting his first field goal attempt of the night. And he prepares to kick off again with the Bombers in front by a score of 3-0.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he kicked this to Gordon once again.
You mean to Dixon?
Dixon, right.
And it is Dixon back at the 12-yard line. Dixon has the speed to get outside. He's being pursued by Bobby Evans, and he manages to scoot up to the 44-yard line. Bob Obilovich said one of the reasons they took Dixon out of the lineup after the game against Saskatchewan, they wanted to restore his confidence. Obilovich said they felt they had to get Dixon to relax.
Well, that was a marvelous return by Dixon to get him up to the 44-yard line, and the Argos are going to start the game tonight with a 5-receiver set, Don, which is going to be a challenge for this secondary. Look for Mike Kerrigan to come out with a wide-open attack right off the back. He gets Dixon out in the slot.
Dixon will line up on occasion in the tailback position. Dwayne Ford is the ball carrier, and Ford is stopped after a pickup of a couple of yards. Dixon in the lineup, replacing the injured Mike Pinball Clemens. He's out with a minor shoulder separation. And they would like to utilize the speed of Dixon, lining him up in a tailback position, using him in a variety of positions, trying to confuse the Winnipeg defense.
And the adjustment that the defense has just made, they took McCollins out at defensive end, brought in their dime back, so they're going to go with 6 defensive backs in the game to face this offensive set of the Argos.
Norris Thomas comes in as an extra back. Little swing pass to Dwayne Ford, and he's going to be stopped well short of a first down. Thomas came up along with Phillips to make the tackle.
Nice stand by the Winnipeg defense to make that adjustment. Coach Cal Murphy recognized what the Argos had done in starting the 5 receivers, quickly made a change on his defensive front, took out McCollins, brought in the nickel back, and they were able to stop the Argos without getting a first down.
That's the one thing they are able to do with Rob Davidson and Stan Mikowicz on the defensive line, with McCollins going out. Alan Boyko, the lone man back. The Bombers feel they might be able to get to Wayne Lamley and block a punt in tonight's game. Jackson almost got there. Boyko, the lone man back on this punt return. He's trying to get outside, and Rodney Harding came across, and the tackle was made by Keith Costello. This is the way Winnipeg lines up offensively. And I talked earlier about Alphen and Wilcox being probably prime targets tonight.
Well, it's going to be a big challenge for Crispina and Henry inside, because Alphen and Wilcox will pick up the slack where David Williams is not in the lineup tonight.
First and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 33. The Bombers lead by a score of 3-0. Dunnigan for Jackson, and Jackson takes it to the 42. He made the catch in front of Eddie Thomas.
Matt Dunnigan will consistently test this secondary of the Argos. He is not a quarterback who wants to sit back. We see Alfred Jackson here working on Eddie Thomas. He gets that inside release. Thomas on his outside hip. You can't allow a receiver to get inside like that because you have no inside support, and he makes the big reception down to the 43-yard line.
Jackson had a career game against Edmonton. 7 receptions for 308 yards. Wilcox is open. Wilcox tried to stay in bounds and then was knocked out by Kita Crespina, but not before he got inside the 15-yard line. A gain of 30 yards for Gerald Wilcox. Defensively, this is the way the Argos line up. And the Argos will probably use a 6 defensive back set throughout the course of this ball game, trying to defend against Matt Dunnigan.
We see Carroll and Teagle. They've been playing exceptionally well over the past couple of weeks for the Argonauts.
Dunnigan throws it into the end zone. Nobody there. Dunnigan may simply have been getting rid of that ball as he realized he was under pressure.
Back to Carroll and Teagle. Last week, Kevin Carroll, the nose guard for the Argonauts, had a career day himself, Don. He had 3 sacks last week against Las Vegas, and Teagle, the middle linebacker, was named Defensive Player of the Week in the CFL.
Second and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 13 of the Argos. 10:59 remaining in the opening quarter. Winnipeg leads by a score of 3-0.
The Argos are going to need to keep more consistent pressure on, like we saw by Mike Campbell on that last play against Matt Dunnigan, to make him throw it awry if they're going to be successful tonight.
Dunnigan has Wilcox open. He can't get it. Boy, you don't usually see Gerald Wilcox miss one like that in the end zone. It almost appeared as though he momentarily took his eye off the flight of the ball.
Well, Don, when you look at him in flight, you'll see him. It doesn't look like he's in full stride. It looked like he slowed down on the ball. Then at the last second, he tried to get that little burst once he got behind Kita Crespina, and the ball went off his fingertips, and Westwood is in for a second field goal attempt. That old adage, the Argos defense is bending, but it hasn't broke, and that is a good sign for the Argonauts tonight.
A 20-yard field goal attempt by Westwood. It's good, and the Bombers have a lead of 6-0 with 10:22 remaining in the opening quarter here at Skydome.
You know, I'm ready for some straight talk about long-distance savings. Right now, some long-distance discounters are throwing a lot of big numbers around. How do they come up with them? First, they take their lowest discounted rates. Then they compare it to BCTEL's highest undiscounted rate. Even though BCTEL has savings plans and time-of-day discounts. Puts a different slant on things, doesn't it?
It's the menswear sale you've been waiting for. Dunn's Taylor's semi-annual clearance sale. Save on famous brand name suits by Baumler, Strelson, Profilo, Ashbridge, and more. All priced to sell. Single and double-breasted styles, blazers, sports jackets, slacks, up to 50% off. Now is the time to replenish that wardrobe while everything is on sale. Dunn's Taylors has earned a solid reputation for service and selection. Now, get the same great values at unbeatable prices during the semi-annual clearance sale on now at Dunn's Taylors, 390 West Hastings and Homer.
Welcome back to Skydome. The Argos' win over Las Vegas here last week was not without a steep price, as Mike Pinball Clemens suffered a shoulder injury in the first quarter. Could have played tonight, they say, but then would have risked injury for the rest of the season, maybe missed far more many games than the Argos would like. And Mike, I know it's tough for you to stand on the sidelines. Do you think you can play next week in BC?
I think most definitely so. I felt like I could have played tonight, but like you said, the doctors felt that it was a little too early to take the chance, so had to sit this one out.
You know, Mike, you and I have discussed fashion many times in the past. I'd like the audience to have a look at this outfit. And as my father used to say to me, he'd say, "Son, you're so far out, you're in."
Oh, boy. I hope we're so far out now that we get back in this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for your time. Don?
Scott, I think our next outing, you should dress up in a similar outfit.
Well, I've seen Scott legs, Don. We've been to the gym a couple times. I think it'd be quite an embarrassment to CBC and himself.
6-0 Winnipeg leads. Norm Casallo takes the kickoff and doesn't really go anywhere. A 45-yard kick, a 3-yard return that time. Mike Kerrigan with some instructions from Coach Bob Obilovich as he heads out onto the field. George Namako is listed as the starter in place of Mike Pinball Clemens. Masadi and Fairholm, two of the key receivers for Mike Kerrigan, but Titus Dixon quite frequently during the course of the game will line up in that tailback position in place of Namako. Kerrigan fakes the toss. Kerrigan is throwing for Fairholm, and it's incomplete. He took it off the turf.
Well, what's amazing about Fairholm and Mazzati, Paul, is you look at these two receivers, they're averaging around 20 yards a catch, and those are astronomical numbers when you look at it, and that's what has helped Mike Kerrigan along this season.
So Kerrigan faces 2nd and 10. The ball is at his own 33-yard line. Winnipeg's defense has had a tough time this year. The most scored upon unit in the league. They've been averaging 37.2 points per game against.
A big key to that, Don, that front three that we see right there, they only have 1 sack between them this season.
Pass complete to Fairholm for a first down up the 48-yard line. Bobby Evans came over to make the tackle. Fairholm reached a milestone. In his last outing, he played in his 100th CFL career game.
And he and Obilovich accomplished that milestone at the same time. You'll see right here Fairholm coming from the left of your screen in a deep crossing route, and Kerrigan getting the time from his offensive line. No pressure from that Winnipeg defensive front, and as we said, only came into the game with 1 sack thus far this season.
Quick pass over on the far side of the field. And Drage is going to get a first down to the 44 of Winnipeg, brought down by Errol Brown. Drage was in the lineup last week and had a couple of touchdowns for the Argos.
Coach Obilovich feels that Drage probably has the best hands of all his receivers. A rookie out of BYU had the 5 receptions last week. You see Errol Brown coming up from his free safety position, getting help from Chris Angaris on the tackle.
A huge difference in the number of sacks allowed by the Argo offensive line this year compared to last year. Namako, the ball carrier, and he is brought down by Anthony Shelton. James, you referred to the number 100 as being significant last week for Jeff Fairholm and Bob Obilovich. Fairholm's 100th game, Obilovich his 100th career coaching victory.
A big day for both, but to go back to that offensive line, when we saw that difference of 17 sacks, the quarterbacks last year just didn't have the time. They had an offense that they tried to make an adjustment with, and neither quarterback they had could adapt to it. But this year, Mike Kerrigan is comfortable behind this big offensive front.
Operating out of the shotgun, he throws it up for Drage. Incomplete. Drage doesn't have great speed, but he does have the ability to get open, and he had maneuvered in behind Don Smith.
That ball was just underthrown. Drage had 3 yards on Smith. Kerrigan just had too much loft on that football, and Drage had to wait on it. That allowed Smith time to recover, but Kerrigan knew he should have got that one there. He said, I had one and I let it get away. You don't get that opportunity too many times against this Winnipeg defense. Even though they've been victimized a lot this year, he needs to capitalize on those.
Wayne Lamley will attempt a 51-yard field goal with 7:42 remaining in the opening quarter here at Skydome.
This is out of his range, Don.
And it does fall short. Boyko took it at the goal line, and this is going to be a pretty good return for Boyko, bringing it back out to the 28-yard line. The most versatile performer for Winnipeg, number 17, Alan Boyko.
do you go when the kids are in tow and you hear that old refrain?
We're hungry, Dad.
You look in your pocket and all that you've got is $2 to your name. That's easy. Go for Timbits, go for Timbits. That's Tim Hortons today. With 10 fresh flavors every day, everyone can have their way. Yeah! You've always got time for Timbits.
What's your favorite kind?
The next 649 jackpot is estimated at a colossal $5 million.
We got to look at Wayne Lamley here on the sideline. That last kick fell a little bit short. Watching him in pregame, you'll see the spot right here, but 50 yards was just at the range that he was getting close to the goal line, and that one fell right on the goal line. But watch the action after the kick here. Kim Phillips and Lamley mixed it up right here. The defensive back took some exception to it. Lamley went down, got back up, and the officials thought that it was okay, but that's the kind of frustration that you'll have when you miss those.
Lamley has hit on 10 of 17 coming into this game, and Bob Obilovich was saying that as Lamley has struggled, he has had a telephone call from almost every out-of-work field goal kicker on this side of the border and quite a few in the U.S. as well.
Well, it's a very tough situation for the young man. He's handling both duties. He came into the game averaging 39 yards a punt, and he was 10 of 7, now 10 of 18 in the field goal department. And that first game of the season against Baltimore, where he missed 4, was very critical, and I think he hasn't recovered from that yet.
Wilcox makes the catch. No, he did not hang on.
Marvelous play by Keita Crispina coming across just at the last moment. Gerald Wilcox is being one of Matt Dunnigan's favorite targets early in the game. You see him on an outright, but Crispina at the last second got that left hand in there to deflect the football. Nice play by the defensive back.
For a moment, it looked as though it was going to nestle into the hands of Gerald Wilcox, but Crispina just at the last moment got a hand in there to deflect it away. 2nd and 10, Winnipeg. The Bombers have not yet tried to run the ball, and Dunnigan now is going to run, and he'll get a first down as he goes out of bounds. Dunnigan, in his career as a visitor to Skydome, has never won a football game.
Well, he's a little reluctant right now to throw the short control passes. He wants to go deep every play, but excellent coverage in the back end of the secondary for the Argonauts. You see all the players covering their spots on the field. They played a nice zone defense. Dunnigan had to pull it down once the pressure had got on him. Ran out of bounds by Pleasance and Henry on the play.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball at the Bomber 40-yard line. 6:33 remaining in the opening quarter. Winnipeg leads by a score of 6-0. Dunnigan throws to the far side of the field. A pretty solid hit on Gerald Alphen as he takes it out of bounds with a gain of about 5.
Don Moan and Reggie Pleasant coming up. You know, Don, Reggie Pleasant missed last week with a hamstring injury. It's quite interesting that Matt Dunnigan has not tested the veteran cornerback yet. He has Jamie Holland, the CFL rookie with 6 years NFL experience, playing over there against Pleasant, and maybe soon he'll take him up that sideline.
2nd and 5, Winnipeg. Dunnigan rolls to his right. He's under pressure from Harding. Still gets the pass away. Wilcox attempted to come back to make the catch, but Crispina stayed with him.
Don, the defensive front for the Argos has played tremendous football in the first 4 games of this season. Last year, that defensive front only registered 31 sacks all season long, but they've come back in the first 4 games this season and already recorded 13, and that has been a big plus for them to take some of the pressure off of their secondary.
Dunnigan was in trouble. Rodney Harding had hold of his jersey, and he was fortunate that he was able to throw the ball with the big defensive lineman hanging all over him.
Well, Rodney's the Argonaut all-time leading sacker with 79. He picked up 2 last week against Las Vegas.
Bob Cameron, the 2nd oldest player in the CFL. Man who has been punting for Winnipeg since 1979, gets the kick away to Bobby Gordon, and he's taken out of bounds almost immediately by Anthony Shelton. That was a 39-yard kick with a 2-yard return.
Don, it's getting to the point right now. You hate to say it's a sense of urgency in the first quarter, but the Argonauts need to mount another consistent drive. The last drive, they drove down the field. They came up short in field goal range as far as Wayne Lamley is concerned, but Mike Kerrigan needs to seize the moment and drive his team down the field and get some point production, because you can't let this Winnipeg team, as explosive as they are, stay with this close a range without putting some points on the board of your own.
Drage lines up wide to the left. Kerrigan throws over the middle for Masadi, and Masadi, who is having an outstanding season, takes it up to the 52.
Beautiful strike and play execution that time by the Argonauts. Paul Mazzatti running a nice crisp inside route that time. Kim Phillips arriving a little early, but great concentration by Paul Mazzatti. Mike Kerrigan putting the ball right on the money. He throws the ball well in the first quarter this year.
One of the reasons Masadi is having such a good year, some feel, is that he is being complemented with the speed of Bobby Gordon at the slot back position on the same side. Namako, the ball carrier, and he'll get about 4 yards. Stopped there by Greg Clark.
And Don, what that speed with a Bobby Gordon does, it does not allow you to double team a Paul Mazzatti, because you have to account for his speed. He played wide out last year for the Argonauts, and putting those two players on the same side forces you to go in a lot of man-to-man coverage.
2nd and 6 for the Argos. The ball is at the Winnipeg 54-yard line. 4:28 remaining in the opening quarter. Winnipeg leads by a score of 6-0. Bobby Gordon could not hang on. He was being covered by Anthony Shelton. And that forces the Argos to send out their punting team. Bobby Gordon last year, for a good portion of the season, lined up as a wideout for the Argos.
And that was a very catchable ball thrown by Mike Kerrigan. You can see the frustration there on a Bobby Gordon's face. He knew he should have came up with that easy reception. Now the Argonauts once again have to turn the ball back over to the Bombers.
And let's watch this with only Alan Boyko back to see if the Bombers try and go for a block again. They came close the last time Lamley punted, with Alfred Jackson almost getting there. It's a fake by the Argos, and Tally Williams is going to take it down to the 10-yard line, down to the 9-yard line. Tally Williams, who made his debut as an Argo against Shreveport on a fake 3rd down punt, goes 38 yards, putting the Argos at a 1st and goal at the Winnipeg 9.
Tremendous play call. We'll see the Argos sit right here. Tally's here, and he's going to come around to the left. And you'll see right here, Smith snaps the ball to Tally, and he comes up. They create a seam. Leon Haciano comes in, seals. There's no one to block, and Tally is off. But a great job down the field by Keita Crispina, who had ran off the linebacker Randolph, and he did not see the ball carrier coming.
1st and goal. There's the toss to Namako. He cuts back inside and runs into some traffic. The Argos felt that they might be able to run the toss play successfully against Winnipeg, but the happiest man on the Argo bench at the moment is Tally Williams.
Well, a great play by the young man right there to take that snap and to have the presence to turn the corner and get up and follow his blockers. And that's the key, is you get a ball carrier who will follow his blockers. A lot of times they want to run past them, and Tally followed them up through the hole, and a big play for the Argos.
The ball is just outside the 6-yard line. It's 2nd and goal for Toronto. Drage, the only receiver to the left. The pass thrown into the end zone to Fairholm. Touchdown.
Spoke about it at the beginning of the drive. What the Argos needed was to come up with a big solid drive and get down and get some points on the scoreboard. Mike Kerrigan was able to do that, to move his team down with assistance from the big special teams play, which you can never overlook in the CFL.
Well, it was the 3rd down gamble by Waterloo product Tally Williams, who set it up for Mike Kerrigan to spot Jeff Fairholm in the end zone. He had only one receiver lined up to the left. Everybody else went right, and Fairholm was wide open on the overload.
And that's what you did. You put your trips right. You get your 3 receivers out there, and all of a sudden, what's commonly known in the CFL is the wheel route. And you had Fairholm inside. Watch the outside receiver coming across, and they run off the secondary right here. As Fairholm goes to the outside, he's wide open. Bobby Evans could not stay with him on the play. Mike Kerrigan with the roll, and the offensive line has been giving him plenty of time here in the first quarter.
Well, Well, we pointed out the statistic earlier, the sacks this year compared to last year, and Mike Kerrigan feels much more comfortable operating behind the 1994 offensive line. As a matter of fact, he treats the offensive line every week. He lives in St. Catharines, close to Buffalo. He drives across the border, brings them buffalo wings and a few bubblies, depending on how they perform.
Is that 7-Up or ginger ale? You know, but that's a big plus. Mike Kerrigan is healthy also. He broke the collarbone last year, and there was some question mark at that injury time. Would he be able to come back this year? And he was a free agent, and he thought his career was in some jeopardy.
They'll kick this one over again. Norris Thomas was back, but never got a chance to play it as it went out of bounds at about the 17-yard line. Lamely did a pretty good job of executing the fake on that third down punt with the direct snap going to Williams.
Well, I think a big key to that also, Don, last week when they played Las Vegas, they had two bad snaps between the center, Blaine Smith, and the punter, Wayne Lamely. So the Winnipeg Bombers would be easy to distract in that situation if Lamely was to fake it that it went over his head.
2:08 is the time remaining in the first quarter. The Argos lead by a point.
On the help. You'll never have to go in circles again. Introducing the Wizard, a revolutionary marine motor. The Wizard fits car toppers, inflatables, dinghies, or canoes. It's ideal for fishing, trolling, hunting, or cruising. No batteries, no gas, no fumes, no fuss. The Wizard is made from high-impact marine-grade materials. It's quiet, durable, safe, and so easy to use, the whole family will have fun with the Wizard. Now available at the special introductory price of $89.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-800-750-7995 to order the Wizard. Major credit cards accepted.
Chuck and Leon locked in a power struggle.
Your senior partner, not Leon.
Can the firm survive another crisis?
I worked hard to get this deal for us.
Nobody asked you to.
Street Legal, Wednesday at 8 on CBC.
Argos lead 7-6 late in the first quarter. How about the good old-fashioned feud between head coaches this week? Cal Murphy and Bob Obilovich got down to business yesterday when OB said Murphy needed another transplant, this time for his brain. He then invited Cal to kiss his posterior, and Murphy said he would, but it looked too much like OB's face. Now, this is good stuff, and it stems from a Bomber request for the Argos to switch dates for a game later this month to allow a second Rolling Stones concert date in Winnipeg. OB refused because his team would have ended up playing games less than 4 days apart. Then it spilled over to accusations by both that the other fellow was hiding players around town to circumvent the league's salary cap. And of course, when they were all finished on, they both said they had tremendous respect for each other. And if the shots delivered on the field could only measure up to the ones Murphy and OB delivered at the press conferences yesterday, then would we not have the game of the year?
Yes, and there were a few other lines that unfortunately we can't pass along on family television. But OB, 100 career coaching man in the CFL. Cal Murphy with 69 career coaching wins, but he has had much more success in the big game, the Grey Cup. Alfred Jackson can't quite reach the ball. He had maneuvered in behind Eddie Thomas once again, but it was just beyond his reach.
Well, I think somewhat of the sparring match that we saw yesterday in the press conference we are seeing here rolling onto the field tonight. We've got a very competitive game going here tonight, Don. 7-6 here in the first quarter. And would you have thought last year in October that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, after 5 games in the season, possibly could be trailing the Toronto Argonauts at that point in the season?
Not based on the way they played last season. One further comment to that press conference yesterday. I kept looking around for Don King to be orchestrating everything.
Well, he was in USA Today.
Pass over the middle is complete. And this one could be called back as Gerald Alphen makes the catch at the 50. It's a holding call against Winnipeg.
I think we might get Miles Durrell here in this situation, who was holding Kevin Carroll, looked like the nose guard.
Holding, number 25 on the offense. Repeat second down.
Chris Johnstone was guilty of the holding.
He was standing next to Miles, couldn't see him.
You don't see many people when they're standing next to Miles.
Well, I saw you disappear behind him, and I was ready to send out a search team.
I thought you were a big man until you stood next to Miles.
Now you see right here Chris Johnstone grabbing Mike Campbell as he came on an inside twist move. The fullback, who is one of the more solid blocking backs in the CFL, got caught that time holding on to the defensive lineman.
2nd and 20 Winnipeg from the 25-yard line. Dunnigan is in trouble. And the reason he was in trouble is because Rodney Harding simply threw the man who was trying to block him right back into the quarterback.
Tremendous push by this Argonaut defensive front. As we said earlier, only 31 sacks registered as a team last year. Watch Kevin Carroll, initial tackler there from his nose on a loop. Right here, comes from the outside. He makes the contact, and Rodney Harding there with the cleanup. Great pursuit. That's how you do it. You squeeze the pocket. Kevin Carroll came and kept the outside contained. Rodney Harding came up through the middle, forced Winnipeg into a punting situation.
Harding threw Blaze Bryant right back into Dunnigan. Now Bob Cameron punts from his own 5-yard line. Titus Dixon is back waiting for the ball, and he'll let it roll out of bounds at the 51-yard line.
Rodney Harding right here, the Argos' all-time leading sacker, having 2 sacks last week.
Who's that guy number 3? How did you get half a sack?
Let me get my glasses back on.
How did you get half a sack?
Well, you know, in those days, I like to share a lot with my teammates.
You had one leg, and Don Moan had the other.
We're making a wishbone out of him. But Rodney has played for 10 years here in Toronto. He is the longest-standing defensive lineman in Argonaut history, and he is their all-time leading sacker. That's quite a praise for that man who came here as a rookie in '85 out of Oklahoma State.
Dixon from the tailback position. He's going to lose a couple of yards. Donald Smith moved up to make the tackle.
Well, it's a big challenge putting Titus Dixon in the backfield from the tailback position. One of the things you'll get from him, you'll get a lot of speed, but you don't get that insight and running ability that you would normally get from a tailback. He is more apt to try to outrun people other than to make that plant and get up in the hole.
What was Donald Smith looking at? Well, of course, every play is replayed on the Jumbotron here at Skydome, and the players always turn to look and see what happened. Anthony Shelton intercepts the pass intended for Jeff Fairholm, and Drage came over to make the tackle and draws a penalty flag as the result. Drage was just a little over-aggressive in making the tackle on Anthony Shelton, who intercepted the pass intended for Jeff Fairholm. And that's the end of the opening quarter.
What happens when a viper sheds its skin? Presenting the new 300 horsepower V10 Dodge Ram. The first truck that lives up to the name. Pickup.
Hi, hon. Another stellar day for the self-employed?
Just when I seem to be getting ahead. More bills.
Your Yellow Pages are more than a collection of listings and ads. They represent the hopes and dreams of real people like Jan.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Jan from Locale Heroes.
Listen, I got 30 guys working through the night. My regular guy let me down.
Hot soup and subs okay?
Hey, Jan, I have 3 more sites around town. Why don't you give me a call tomorrow? We'll chat.
Thanks.
Yellow Pages will always be there.
Family violence isn't something that's easy to notice.
Danny, can you wait up a second?
Or get involved in.
It's quite a bruise you've got there. Can you tell me what happened?
Nothing. Just fell down at home.
You know, if you ever want to talk to someone, you can always talk to me.
It's even tougher for those being hurt to talk about it.
Miss Brown, is now a good time?
It's okay to reach out.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Dodge Trucks, reinventing the truck.
Anthony Shelton with a key interception on the final play of the opening quarter. He has been moved from strong safety, the position he played last week against Baltimore, to an inside halfback position, and one of his assignments is covering Jeff Fairholm, and he did a good job picking off the pass intended for Fairholm. Wilcox is open. He takes it inside the 40-yard line.
You get a blown coverage by the Argonauts secondary. Matt Dunnigan is consistently trying to beat the Argonauts deep. That time Wilcox got behind Henry, the defensive back, and he was off to he got in that seam, and Keith Costello came back from his linebacker position to make the play. He has been rotating this year with Don Moan, spelling the 13-year veteran, and Costello, they're trying to groom him for that position, made the saving tackle.
23-yard gain, 1st and 10, Winnipeg. Dunnigan for Wilcox, a low throw, and he can't grab it. There's also a penalty flag, and we'll wait for the interpretation. This is the statistical story of the first 15 minutes of this ball game. Not much to choose from as far as the passing attack. The Argos with 52 yards rushing, much of it as the result of the 3rd down gamble.
Well, it's a very close game, and just like it is on the scoreboard, we get on the statistical board. The Argonauts have showed well by themselves here in the first quarter. They're going to get an objectionable conduct penalty against Swift Birch right here against David Black on that last play, a little extracurricular activity after the pass had gone incomplete.
Dunnigan on 1st down with time into the end zone. Touchdown, wide open, Gerald Alphen, and Dunnigan laid it out there perfectly.
Don, you cannot allow any quarterback in the CFL to have that much time sitting in the pocket. The Argonaut defense, who has been steady most of the evening, just could not get any penetration against Matt Dunnigan. And when you allow Matt or any other quarterback to have that amount of time, that's generally what will happen to you.
Gerald Alphen, of the starting Winnipeg receivers this year, is the only one who has not had a 100-yard game. And that's his 2nd touchdown of the year. Point after by Troy Westwood, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have regained their 6-point lead.
Well, the slot backs have been very active for Winnipeg. The both Alphens tonight, Gerald Alphen and Gerald Wilcox. You'll see right here on an inside move, Henry got turned around once again, and Alphen running that seam route right down the middle of the field. There's no free safety coming over to give him any support, and that is the key. Matt had looked off the safety, threw backside down the middle. The safety had creeped up, and he victimized him once again early in the game. Brian McCready, you got to stay at home when you're playing free safety.
Well, one of the advantages Winnipeg has with their slot backs is Alphen is 6'3", 210 pounds. Wilcox, 6'2", 215 pounds. Henry is one of the bigger defensive backs for the Argos at 6'1", 175. But on the other side, Crespina is 5'8", 185.
But the key was that Matt Dunnigan got McCready to bite on it. He looked him off to the right side of the formation, Don. He threw backside to Alphen coming underneath, and touchdown result of that. A 3-play, 61-yard drive, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are on the score for the first major of the game.
13:44 remaining in the 2nd quarter. Winnipeg in front by a score of 13-7. Bounces to Bobby Gordon at the 15-yard line. He faked as though he might reverse it to Henry, and then he's caught with Ryan Carey moving up, working on special teams, and this is his first game, a 15-yard return after a 61-yard kickoff.
Well, Ryan Carey was Winnipeg's #1 round draft pick in the Winter Canadian Football League draft, and a long holdout, long negotiating period between he and general manager head coach Cal Murphy. They were at odds for a long time. They finally came to terms. Ryan Carey is dressing for his first professional football game tonight.
An Acadia product, seeing duty primarily tonight on special teams. 1st and 10, Toronto. Kerrigan over the middle, incomplete. He was looking for Fairholm inside, and Fairholm got turned around, tried to make an acrobatic catch, but couldn't get his hands on the ball.
Well, Mike Kerrigan was forced to squeeze that ball longer than what he wanted. It was a timing route, and when you throw off the timing of a quarterback in a pass play like that, and he has to reload, a lot of times it's not going to be on the money, and Mike Kerrigan here early in the game is only 5 for 10 tonight.
One of the reasons that Kerrigan hasn't been sacked as much this season is due to the offensive line, but also the fact that Toronto will move the pocket around. Drage was the man that Kerrigan was looking for, incomplete. When Kerrigan played in Hamilton, he was pretty much a drop-back passer. The defense could pin their ears back and know pretty much where he was going to be.
Well, when you speak about that offensive line of Chris Schultz, Pierre Vercheval, Blaine Smith, Mike Jovanovich, and Joe Burgos, they have done a fine job in protecting Mike Kerrigan this year. They've been able to add some mobility to that offensive line. Chris Schultz had retired early in training camp, decided to come back, and you have a healthy Pierre Vercheval, which makes a strong addition to that left-sided offensive line this season.
This time, 2 people back for the third down kick, and Jackson will take it at the 45. He fumbles. A loose football, and the Argos claim they've got it, and the officials agree. So with 12:39 remaining in the half, the Argos will retain possession on the Winnipeg side of midfield.
We offer something no full-size pickup ever has. 4-wheel anti-lock brakes. Thoughtfully provided a driver's airbag. Of course, we've also designed the frame and body to distribute the forces of a frontal impact and installed high-strength steel door beams to help resist the forces of a side impact. Of all the jobs this new truck was designed to handle, none is as important as the one we hope it never has to do. Dodge, reinventing the truck.
Mama Lorelli, would you ever give someone your family recipe for traditional style pizza?
No, not even the part about that special crust. Never.
Not even if millions could enjoy your pizza?
Million.
Pizza Hut introduces Mama Lorelli's traditional style pizza with zesty new tomato sauce and a thinner, lighter tasting crust. Mama Lorelli's traditional style pizza, only $9.99 for a 3-topping medium. Just one of Pizza Hut's many new deals.
The world champions are back on the home of the champions. CBC Sports has Speedy Blue Jays baseball. Detroit takes on Toronto live Friday at 7:30 Eastern, only on CBC Sports.
Football is a game of intensity. We look at Robert Clark, the linebacker for Winnipeg. Watch right here. Watch his helmet as he comes around trying to go after Wayne Lamley's punt right here. He loses it.
Well, the helmet comes off. You told me the helmet was tough to get back on. Look how easily it gets back on his head.
It's amazing what athletes are able to do these days.
Well, Greg Clark came bursting through, and that helmet popped off. But the big play was the fumble by Jackson. The pass intended for Dixon, and he was well covered by Kim Phillips.
You know, once again, you saw Mike Kerrigan sitting in the pocket. He wanted to release that ball, but the pressure of the defensive secondary from Winnipeg, they've closed the gap. They've rolled up the coverage somewhat. They're a little more man-to-man other than just steady diet of zone, and Mike Kerrigan is going to have to hold the ball longer than what he'd like to.
This is the first game in the lineup for Kim Phillips. He checked into training camp with the Bombers this year. A little overweight, suffered an injury at training camp, and suits up tonight for the first time, but he is a most welcome returnee to the cornerback position. Kerrigan lobs it over the middle. It's picked off by Errol Brown. Errol Brown, playing the free safety position, stepped in front of Robert Gordon, and the University of Saskatchewan product has the Bombers' second theft of this football game.
Well, Errol Brown playing free safety, taking the job of Jason Jakovic, who had been the starter for the first couple games of the season. Cal Murphy felt that he needed more speed in his secondary, and Errol Brown right there displayed that, covering that ground, and that's what you do. You play center field when you're free safety. When the ball is in the air, you have to go to it. Errol Brown came up with the big interception.
Jamie Holland lines up wide to the left. The inside toss to Blaze Bryant. And Blaze Bryant will be cut down by Kevin Whitley after a gain of about 7, maybe even 8.
Well, Kevin Whitley playing his first professional game as a linebacker tonight for the Argos. You see right here with the shovel pass by Matt Dunnigan to Blaze Bryant, and watch Whitley fold back in from the outside to make a shoestring tackle on Bryant to stop him short of the first down.
2nd and 3, Winnipeg. The ball is at the 42. Hand off to Blaze Bryant for a Winnipeg first down. Campbell and Moan combined to bring down the Winnipeg running back. That's a great name for a running back, Blaze Bryant.
That means that he will get past people on a few occasions, but Winnipeg running behind Miles Gurrell and Brett McNeil on the left side of that offensive line, it's hard to find anybody. And Mike Campbell is playing a soft end on the right side for the Argos, and it allows those seams.
And there was a seam for Gerald Wilcox, and Matt Dunnigan read it perfectly for another Winnipeg first down as Kita Crespina made the tackle.
You know, coming into the game tonight, expected that the slot backs would have a big game. Wilcox and Alfin tonight, and right there you'll see Wilcox getting inside against Kita Crespina, who is not playing him very tough. You can't play these guys too soft, and most of the time McCurdy is not in the middle of the field at safety, and if they hit a seam, they're going to be gone.
Dunnigan looks upfield, it's deflected. Calvin Tiggle had dropped back to cover Gerald Wilcox and got a hand on the throw.
Looked like they might have been trying to run a design screen play that time, because you saw the offensive lineman trying to get out in the flat, and Matt Dunnigan kept running towards the sideline. But if he had looked downfield, Alfred Jackson was completely behind the coverage. No one had picked him up, and he was off and running around the 20-yard line, waving his hands, saying, "I'm open," and Matt just did not see him.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. Inside for Blaze Bryant, and he has another Winnipeg first down to the 35-yard line. McCurdy and Tiggle combined to make the tackle on Blaze Bryant.
What they're doing right now is stretching this Argonaut defensive out, and they put Blaze Bryant up in the slot, and you're not getting any support from the Argo linebackers at the moment. You'll see right here the outside linebacker, Whitley, was out too far. Bryant came underneath. Tiggle was forced to make the tackle.
Wide open is Jamie Holland, his first CFL reception. Cal Murphy talked about the speed of the replacement for David Williams, and that was a pretty good burst to turn the corner and take the ball to the 15.
Well, the first test on Reggie Pleasant tonight, Jamie Holland, 6 NFL years of experience, 73 receptions we see right there with his first CFL reception. Matt Dunnigan dropping straight back in the pocket with a gun. He fires it right out to Holland. Holland on a little break-in, kicks it back to the outside, but if we get a shot of it, we'll see a great block by Wilcox at the back of that, knocking off Wilson at the end of that play.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the Toronto 15-yard line. Dunnigan fakes, now throws into the end zone. Alfred Jackson could not catch up with it. That fake froze the 2 defenders, and Jackson was able to scoot in behind Thomas and Crespina.
Well, just tremendous arm strength by Matt Dunnigan. You got the 2 defensive backs who ran into each other over in the backside of the end zone, and Dunnigan is a little frustrated with himself, knowing that he had Jackson behind the coverage, and he went over the top trying to get to him, just had too much on the football.
2nd and 10 from the 15. 8:48 is the time remaining in the second quarter. Winnipeg leads 13-7. Dunnigan for Holland. Oh, he can't hang on.
Don, and he had the inside position that time on Eddie Thomas. Kita Crespina came over from his halfback position at the last moment and might have got a fingertip on that football, but Holland that time showed great speed as he came in. You see Crespina right there. May have distracted him a little bit because the ball hit him right in the chest. He just didn't get his hands up and bring that one in.
Troy Westwood 2 for 2, trying to split the uprights from 22 yards out. He's now 3 for 3 as the Blue Bombers increase their lead to 9 points with 8:19 remaining in the first half.
How many salmon is Alcan willing to sacrifice for the Camano completion project? Not one salmon. Under a legal agreement with the federal and provincial governments, Alcan is obligated to protect Nechako River salmon. Camano completion. Growth we can all live with. For more information, call 1-800-94-ALCAN.
Welcome to Bug Heaven.
We have bigger bugs
prehistoric pterodactyl skeeters.
A funny thing happened when we threw a party for Avon Skin So Soft users, but gave them off Skin-tastic.
I used to use Avon Skin So Soft. Off Skin-tastic just is 100 times better.
It feels like lotion. It's not greasy.
That's why 4 out of 5 Avon users prefer off Skin-tastic.
Smells very, very nice.
We've switched.
It feels great on and keeps bugs off.
Off Skin-tastic!
Love it, need it.
From SC Johnson Wax.
Look out for the explosive Pinball Clemens and an aerial assault by Kent Austin at BC Place. The Argos and the Lions meet next Thursday.
Jamie Holland in the end zone, the man who was unable to hang on to the Matt Dunnigan throw. The Ohio State product has a fair bit of pressure on him because the man he's replacing, David Williams, is number 4 all time in the CFL in touchdowns and pass receptions. David Williams with 78 career touchdowns on pass receptions.
Well, just a tremendous career, and former CFL outstanding player David Williams had misfortune last week with a torn Achilles. He had 9 receptions in that game, Don, when he went down. He had an earlier game this season where he had 10 receptions. Will be sorely missed by this Winnipeg offensive attack.
David Williams was in position to shatter a number of pass-catching records this year in the CFL. This is Bobby Gordon on the kickoff return. He brings it back to the 38-yard line, tackled there by Alan Wetmore. That was a 23-yard run back. You talked about David Williams. One game with 240 yards, another with 155, and yet another with 118 yards. Scott?
Don, you mentioned that Jamie Holland's got a chance to play tonight because of David Williams' torn Achilles tendon. On Live at the Half, we'll try to determine why Winnipeg has suddenly become the ruptured Achilles capital of North America. David Williams went down last week. Dunnigan before him, hockey superstar Solani in between, and we'll have Commissioner Larry Smith on to talk about it. Must be a concern to him dropping attendance in the CFL this season. Don?
Well, Jeff Fairholm was able to hang on to the throw despite taking a fair bit of punishment from Errol Brown as he made the catch over the middle. The ball popped loose, but it was after he was down.
A lot of intensity by the defensive players on the Winnipeg side. Fairholm getting behind Clark, but watch Earl Brown coming up from his free safety position. That might have been a fumble. Greg Clark getting the end of that tackle, but Earl Brown just levels Jeff Fairholm right here. That's how you play center field. If people are going to come in your neighborhood, you got to make them pay for it.
Errol Brown, 5'8", 175 pounds. I said that Jeff Fairholm took a tremendous hit. He was able to get up and start towards the Argo bench, but as he got partway across the field, he went down to one knee and now is receiving some treatment. That's one of the problems when you reach out and you expose yourself over the middle. The safety, if he's in the area at all, will lay a licking on you.
Well, Earl Brown spent time between Saskatchewan and Winnipeg last year. He and Jeff Fairholm were teammates at one point last year, but now he's settled in comfortably in this Winnipeg secondary. And if he keeps making big plays like he's made the past couple of series with the interception and the big hit on Jeff Fairholm, Jason Jakovic will never get that job back at free safety.
Well, Jason Jakovic, the man Brown replaced, has a reputation of being a big hitter. Handoff inside to Namako, and Namako is going to get a first down. Norm Casola has replaced Fairholm at a slot back position. Stan Mikowas was able to get back and make the tackle.
Well, a nice running play that time by Namako, the rookie running back from the Toronto area. We'll see him here. He's going to get the ball, and he's going to come with the lead play. The ball is going to come back, and he breaks it across back into the clear. Excellent run that time by Namako. Good blocking by his offensive line. You see Pierre Vercheveau right out front there, along with Blaine Smith opening that gaping hole.
Paul Massotti takes the hitch screen, puts a couple of good moves on Kim Phillips, the cornerback, and gets a first down.
Don, you look at Jeff Fairholm right here getting some assistance from the medical staff on the Argonaut bench. But Paul Massotti, when you look at him, you gotta like this young man. Coming back from that leg injury of last season, he was having a career year, and he has picked up this year where he stopped off last year, working one-on-one here. He comes back to the quarterback, picks up the football, gathers himself, picks up the first down, breaking the tackle of Phillips.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 26-yard line. Hand off to Namako, and Namako cuts back inside, gets into the clear. Down to the 3-yard line.
Excellent run by George Namaco. A big plus with Mike Clemens being out of the backfield. Watch Mike Jovanovic right here from his left guard. He's going to come around and kick up in the hole, and Mike Namaco get the ball and read off of his big offensive guard as he comes up. He reads the seam perfectly along with Joe Burgos, and he's right up the seam. He gathers his balance, and he's down inside the 5.
The native of Nepean, Ontario, puts the Argos in a 1st and goal situation. Dwayne Ford, who was with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last year, tried to put it in the end zone and was stopped by Chris Sangaris.
A nice drive being mounted once again by the Argos. When Winnipeg has seemed like they were going to get the separation in the game and might put the game out of reach, the Argos have been able to respond with positive drives. This time, Namaco has got him down to the 2-yard line, and it's 2nd and 2. Ford on that last carry.
2nd and goal from the 2. 4 receivers line up to the left. That's the direction Kerrigan rolls. Kerrigan may try and run it in. No, he's going to throw. Touchdown! Rage in the end zone with Donald Smith all over him, was able to haul it in. They talked about the BYU product having great hands, and he certainly displayed that talent in fighting Donald Smith with a football in the end zone.
I think the most surprising part of that played down was the poise of a quarterback, Mike Kerrigan, not being worried whether the pressure was going to get to him or not, allowing his receiver the time to get into the end zone to do the damage in the back end. But just a great drive by Mike Kerrigan, answering the challenge from this Winnipeg team to march his team back down for the 2nd major of tonight.
Lamley adds the point after, and with 4:29 remaining in the 1st half, the Argos have made it a 2-point football game. Bob Obilovich paid Drage, I think, the ultimate compliment when he said he's a Brian Kelly type of receiver. He's very deceptive.
Well, he's made his presence felt in his first 2 games as an Argo. You see Drage right here working against Donald Smith, fighting off Smith, trying to get back to the outside, keeping his eye on his quarterback, Mike Kerrigan, to know where his quarterback is. But the concentration with Donald Smith draped all over him. Watch Mike Kerrigan as he rolls out to the left, avoids the pressure of a Lloyd Lewis and a Stan Nicholas as he gets to the outside, and at the last moment he fires to Drage as he breaks clear of Smith for the touchdown.
Well, Kerrigan threw it, but Drage, I think, gets 90% of the credit for the touchdown because he really had to fight off Smith to make the catch.
You got to give him kudos, Don, for that. His 3rd touchdown as an Argo in the past 2 games. And this Argonaut offense that only averaged 21 points a game last year is up at just under 30 points a game this year. And a big reason for that is that you have a comfortable quarterback, Mike Kerrigan, with a brand new 2-year contract.
Norris Thomas on the kickoff return for Winnipeg, and he brings it back to the 35-yard line with 4:21 remaining in the 1st half. That was a 20-yard return.
The new Ram pickup features a frame design so strong it's been patented. Its optional rear step bumper can pull 5,000 pounds by itself without the help of that frame. The tie-downs in back are so strong, they can support the weight of the entire truck. We overbuilt this pickup because we were sure you'd never underwork it. Dodge, reinventing the truck.
You're the fantasy girl, aren't you?
There's a fine line.
That's exactly what I am.
Between desire.
Charming chameleon with a scorpion's tail.
And deception.
One of my patients was killed last night. How did you get in here?
And if he crosses it...
You've fallen into a trap.
There's no turning back.
People are getting killed around here.
Bruce Willis.
I think I might be next.
Color of Night. Starts Friday, August 19th at a theater near you.
Well, the Bomber defense has not fared well against the pass this year, and on the other side of the ball, the Bomber offense has made it a couple of long nights for many other defenses around the CFL. Their drives this evening. Further proof of one thing, and that's that they're doing it one way and through the air. The Bomber devotion to the pass is clear in one stat. Blaze Bryant was 15th ranked in rushing coming into this game, and this on a team that has boasted the league's leading rusher in 5 of the last 10 seasons. Cal Murphy says he has no intention of trying to open up a running game. He says it's a whole lot faster to get there through the air than over land, and the Bomber offensive linemen are proud of their effort this season. Defenses the league over know the Bombers will pass on virtually every down, so there are no secrets as to the Bomber blocking schemes, but still they've given up only 5 sacks, and one of those tonight, on average one a game, and that's the second best in the league. And they're taking Tony Obilovich, Bob Obilovich's nephew, off to the locker room for further attention. He just took a terrible shot in the last play before commercial, Don.
He's the designated import for the Toronto Argonauts, and Bob has been asked a number of times whether Tony Obilovich had a spot in this team because of the family ties, but he said no, it's because he's a pretty solid football player. Blaze Bryant, the ball carrier, taking it up to the midfield stripe. There were penalty flags on the play.
Were you trying to make the accusation that they might have been related?
Their problem is they have the same last name.
Oh, okay. Well, you get Swift Birch, and I guess he's true to his name. He was quite swift, along with Rodney Harding and Kevin Carroll, jumping off sides, getting caught in that neutral zone on that play. And Matt Dunnigan, with that voice inflection of his, will draw defenders off the ball occasionally.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the midfield stripe. 3:57 remaining in the half. Dunnigan for Holland. This time he makes the catch. Now he's going to run into a whole bunch of double blue jerseys, and his gain will be close to a first down. At the 45-yard line, perhaps close enough to call for a measurement.
Don, you know, I question whether Reggie Pleasant is completely healthy tonight. The amount of cushion that he has been given to Jamie Holland on the 2 balls that he has caught, and even on other pass plays. He had a pull left hamstring. If we can get a shot at it, if they can shoot down a little lower, we'll see a heavy tape left leg on Reggie Pleasant. You'll see the pad right there on the back. I don't think he's 100% healthy, and he can have some problems tonight trying to cover receivers one-on-one.
It's interesting. During his first 7 years in the CFL, Reggie Pleasant missed just 3 games because of injury. He's already missed 2 because of that hamstring problem this year.
Well, when you're one of those skilled players who relies on his legs, you see him right here. He's not pushing off that leg solidly. I think that leg might be bothering him a little bit, and it could cause more problems as the night wears on.
The measurement revealed that Holland did get a first down. 1st and 10, Winnipeg. Dunnigan with time, and then is hit from behind by Birch just as he released. Oh, he took a shot from Birch from behind just as he let the football go.
Well, the offensive line for the Bombers have been giving Matt a tremendous amount of time in the pocket, and he sits back there. He's in that comfort zone because he knows the big guys up front is going to give him the time. But Swift Birch, coming from the backside end of this play, just as Matt gets ready to deliver, he delivers on Matt, and he takes him down quite toughly to the turf.
3:03 remains in the first half. It's Winnipeg 2nd and 10, and we'll have that play when we return.
Where there was once only a place to sit, there's now a convenient place to relax. Where there was once only unusable space, there's now an ingenious storage system of interchangeable bins, trays, and cargo netting. When there was once only upholstery, there's now a place for an office. And where there was once only a truck, there's now Dodge Ram. Dodge, reinventing the truck.
Sunday on Country Canada, raising scallops. Welcome to the underwater world of scallop farming, the world of Doug and Jennifer Keynes, 2 people who refuse to give up on a dream, even though the odds are stacked against them.
We'd like to, get them as large as we can. We get hopefully a premium price for a larger meat.
Scallop farming, Sunday on Country Canada.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Dodge Trucks, reinventing the truck.
The Skydome roof is closed tonight because of thunderstorms that have prevailed in the Toronto area throughout the day. And the indoor comfort is provided to the fans in attendance at this third home game of the season for Toronto. And the Toronto Argonauts, as of yesterday, are now making Skydome their permanent home. In the past, their offices have been located at their old home, the CNE Stadium, but as of yesterday, they moved into Skydome on a permanent basis. They will have their permanent locker room here as well, the offices here, but they still do not have a permanent practice field.
And that is the toughest part for this organization, not knowing where you're going to practice every day. And when you have to make that 20 to 30-minute drive through the city of Toronto just to get back and forth from practice, it's quite a strain on the football team mentally and physically.
Chris Johnston on the receiving end of the throw. Kevin Whitley came over to make the tackle. That'll be a gain of 5 yards, maybe even 6.
You know, Whitley's making his first start tonight, Don, at a linebacker position. He's normally a defensive back, and just making that slight adjustment on the field. You have a defensive back playing a linebacker position, but he still has that defensive back mentality, and a lot of times you'll find him a step or two out of position because it's hard for him to break the habits that he's developed over time.
The fourth field goal attempt of the night for Troy Westwood. It's good. Well, he spent a lot of time this week working on his mechanics. He felt that he was getting his plant foot, his right foot, just a little too far ahead. And in the final practice for this game, he hit on 14 of 14, but he's not totally pleased with his most recent field goal attempt.
Well, Don, on that kick, Westwood knew he got a little low on that kick. He got a lot of rotation on the ball. He didn't hit it fat. He didn't hit it solid. And he could see just where it was waning at the last bit, trying to get over the goalpost.
And he has likened the kicking motion to a golf swing. Nice, smooth follow through. I can't relate to that. I've got that herky-jerky.
Oh, I thought you were our resident expert. What's your handicap?
It depends on who I'm playing. It changes.
Oh, okay. it goes like the betting line. Is it over or under?
It changes like the over-under line in Vegas.
You know, we've come out tonight and got a pretty good ball game. You know, when you look at the score, 19-14 with 2:34 remaining in the first half. The Argonauts have shown well for themselves tonight here at Skydome. The defense have met the challenge of Winnipeg and have forced them into 4 field goals. And when you can do that, keeping this high-powered offense out of the end zone, that's a big plus for your team.
Troy Westwood kicking off. Titus Dixon starts out from the 15-yard line. And he runs into some traffic as he's brought down at the 35. You know, you asked me about my golf handicap. It's not as bad as Dan Kepley. I mean, this guy's a 14. I had to shoot a 72 the other day as a 10 to beat him.
Well, we see the numbers right here between the two quarterbacks, Dunnigan versus Kerrigan. Not bad numbers, 187 yards for Mike Kerrigan. He has been consistent in getting off to the good start over the past couple of weeks here early in the season. He has the 1 touchdown pass to Eric Drage. Matt Dunnigan on the other side with just 101 yards passing coming into the game tonight, averaging 453, a little bit off of his pace.
Dunnigan has surpassed 300 yards in each of his 4 games this season. Of course, the record performance against the Edmonton Eskimos on the 14th of July when he set a CFL record of 713 yards. It's been a bit of a tough night for guys who primarily play on special teams. We saw Tony Obilovich taken off earlier. Brendan Rogers was injured in making the tackle, but fortunately for Brendan and the Bombers, he's able to get up and walk off to the Winnipeg bench.
You know, it would be really nice here for the Argonauts if Mike Kerrigan could drive the team down and come up with at least 3 points out of this drive.
McCollins is after him, forcing Kerrigan to hurry the throw, and I think he simply dumped that one off.
Well, the Winnipeg defensive front recognized that the Argonauts were trying to set up a screen, and they held up the backs at the line of scrimmage when they were trying to seep out. Right here, you see Nanaimo being held up by Clark, who was supposed to bend the screen back on that play and was not allowed to get out, and McCollins was in Kerrigan's face, and he had to throw it out in the flat.
Drage comes wide right. Massotti lines up to the left as Kerrigan operates from the shotgun. Incomplete, and Casola, who is in the ball game in place of Fairholm, got turned around by Shelton. The fans reacted, but there was no penalty flag.
Well, Norm Casola had gotten behind Shelton that time, and Norm Casola, you'll see right here as Shelton comes in and gets that right arm hooked on him and is twisting him around before the flight of the football. We see the official right there seem to have a clear angle of the play, didn't make the call, and the fans didn't appreciate it here at Skydome.
This time just one man back, that's Boyko. The Bombers tried on Lamley's first punt attempt for a block. Good protection afforded the Toronto kicker this time, and a good punt chasing Boyko back to the 22-yard line, and he returns it to about the 32 with 2:06 remaining in the first half. That was an 8-yard run back after a 51-yard kick.
You know, we moved into somewhat of a chess match here, Don. We're playing for field position. It's become a war between the kickers. Who can outkick who? That was Wayne Lamley's best punt of the night to get the Bombers back inside their 35-yard line. Now can Matt Dunnigan answer? Can he take his team down and once again strike and get on the scoreboard?
334 yards against BC, 713 against Edmonton, 332 against Calgary, 435 against Baltimore, and he's on pace for a 400-yard game again tonight as Gerald Wilcox takes the ball up to the 41-yard line.
Don, the Argos can't consistently sit back in this deep zone.
Live at the half, Scott Oak will discuss the injury of the 90s. Achilles tendon injuries in the CFL, particularly in the camp of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And he'll also take a look at the records that have been established in this first month of the 1994 season. Matt Dunnigan, the author of the record passing performance. Blaze Bryant trying to get a first down, stopped by middle linebacker Calvin Tiggle. Placement of the ball will determine whether or not it is a first down, and even if the Bombers don't have it, I'm quite sure they'll be gambling on 3rd and inches.
Well, Calvin Tiggle, the middle linebackers from the Argonauts, came into this game with 20 sacks, 1 interception, and 20 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 sack, and he was the defensive player of the week last week in the CFL. And right now, Don, I would hasten to say that he is probably one of the top 2 or 3 middle linebackers in the CFL. A pleasant surprise. Came to training camp with the Argonauts, wasn't expected to make the team, and he's a star for him this season.
Bob Obilovich says he has to be a little more disciplined on his pass drops. Otherwise, they're very, very happy with his play. Dunnigan on first down has Gerald Wilcox, his favorite target tonight, for another first down. Gerald Wilcox now with 5 receptions for 86 yards.
Well, you see him right here with the nice break to the outside running. Nice crisp route. Keita Crispina cannot keep up with Gerald Wilcox. He's giving him too much of a cushion. They're going to have to squeeze it up. The Argonauts are content to sit back in the zone defense. They're going to have to rotate a little man, disguise their coverages in here, because Matt Dunnigan will have a field day against this defense.
Last week against Baltimore, Wilcox caught 11 passes for 146 yards. Blaze Bryant with a big hole up the middle for another first down, caught from behind by Swift Birch. 1:16 remains in the first half. A halfback delay to Blaze Bryant for a Winnipeg first down.
A lead draw to Blaze Bryant. A nice change of pace right here by Matt Dunnigan, coming with the half sprint out. You have Blaze Bryant sitting out on the wing. You get the ball back to him. He cuts back into that hole in the middle of the field, and he's down to the 38-yard line.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. Dunnigan sends Holland wide to the left, Jackson to the right. Inside handoff to Blaze Bryant. This time he got back to the line of scrimmage and not much more. Mike Campbell and Kevin Carroll came over to bring him down.
Well, Matt feeling that he could keep the defense off balance and trick him one more time, but that time the defensive linemen stayed at home like they're supposed to and made the play.
2nd and 10 Winnipeg. 49 seconds remaining in the half.
I think we got a rash of hamstring injuries. I think they got 6 or 7 rolls of tape on the right leg of Miles Garrell.
Alfred Jackson makes the catch on the sidelines and is able to get out of bounds in the grasp of Eddie Thomas. Thomas was fortunate that Jackson did not break free.
There was no one on the back end of that play, and Alfred Jackson with a quick wheel out to the right, a rotation move, and we're going to get a flag here against the Argonauts, but Eddie Thomas made a saving tackle as he got Alfred around the shoestring. We're going to get probably an objectionable conduct here against the Argos.
7, first down.
Rodney Harding, the defensive tackle, he and Miles Garrell have been going at it the past couple of plays, and a very foolish penalty by Harding has cost his team 15 yards and a first down to keep this drive alive.
And there's nothing that infuriates a coach more than for players to take penalties after the play is over.
Well, they got into it the play before where Harding and Garrell were butting helmets and shoving each other, and that time Harding decided to retaliate after the play had happened, and the official caught him on it.
1st and 10 Winnipeg. Dunnigan fakes. Now he lobs it into the end zone for Wilcox. Touchdown. And I think Gerald Wilcox, who does a radio show 5:45 every night at 97.5 FM in Winnipeg, might talk about that touchdown catch tomorrow night.
Well, he might have a lot to talk about because he got a gift that time. You know, great drive by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to march that ball down after the punt return from their 33-yard line. You'll see him, watch him at the last moment here. Watch him push off of Reggie Pleasant. He'll push him right here, get that separation, brings the ball in. Great concentration. The official didn't notice it on the scoreboard once again.
The point after by Troy Westwood, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers take advantage of a bad penalty by Rodney Harding to put 6 points on the board.
Well, that's one of the advantages of having the large slot backs. Gerald Wilcox is 6'3". Plenty of time by that Winnipeg offensive line, and you'll see that shove just at the last moment to turn Reggie Pleasant around. But the key was, Don, is that they were able to answer. After the Argonauts failed to pick up a first down, they took the punt, marched it all the way back downfield, but the key was that penalty against Rodney Harding, which would have made it a 3rd down and 2, that gave him a 1st and 10. Matt Dunnigan, the next play, came back and capitalized on it.
Wilcox, 6 receptions for 106 yards and a touchdown, his 2nd consecutive 100-yard receiving game. Well, when key players go down, others have to step in to pick up the slack, and Gerald Wilcox, in the absence of David Williams tonight, has certainly responded.
Well, one of the key thoughts, Don, we thought that the slot backs would have big games tonight for the Bombers, and they've been able to answer that call here in the first half.
Titus Dixon had a head of speed and was tripped up as he got to the 42 with 24 seconds remaining in the first half. That was a 24-yard run back.
Well, Mike Kerrigan has 24 seconds to operate with here, and that's plenty of time in a CFL game to move down, and he is going to need to pick up at least 30 yards to put this in a comfortable field goal range for Wayne Lamley. 2 big pass plays can do that, and look for him to go over the middle right here because there's been some soft spots there tonight, and Gordon could be the answer right here.
Masadi makes the catch, cutting back inside, looking for some blocking help, but he's stopped about 1.5 yards short of the first down at the 50 by Paul Randolph. The Bombers on the 77-yard touchdown drive were aided by the penalty against Rodney Harding that culminated in Matt Dunnigan finding Gerald Wilcox in the end zone for a 20-yard touchdown strike. 2nd and 2, Kerrigan from the shotgun. Steps up, over the middle, incomplete. He was again looking for Paul Masadi, and Greg Clark, the linebacker, had dropped deep to cover.
Bobby Gordon was up the left sideline, Don, all alone, but when a quarterback locks on a particular receiver, and that time he locked coming over the middle to Masadi, and Gordon had gone up the left sideline, you don't look that way, and right now the Argonauts are going to be forced into a field goal position, a punting position, but with 10 seconds to go, why not take a chance and try to pick up the first down? Winnipeg would only have 1 play if you didn't pick it up. And they're out of Westwood field goal range.
Jackson and Boyko are back for the third down punt by Lamley. Penalty flags are down. It could be an illegal substitution.
And it looks to be a penalty against the Bombers, Don. With only 1 second to go, it's not going to be a big advantage for the Argonauts if it goes that way. But, you know, to go back to that point, when you have 10 seconds to go, the ball is at the 50-yard line. It's a 3rd and 2. Why not go for it? You're out of the opposing team's field goal range, and yet you elect to punt the ball away.
Too many men. Winnipeg. First down.
I saw Alfred Jackson coming in late and thought that it might have been an illegal substitution, but Winnipeg, with that Jackson coming in, obviously had too many men on the field.
Yeah, you get 12 in the CFL, and 13 is just a little bit of a disadvantage for the opposing team.
Cal Murphy had indicated that for most of this game they would go with just one punt returner, and that would be Alan Boyko. The last time Lamley punted, they did have Jackson back there, and obviously he thought he was supposed to be out there again. Kerrigan is going to throw deep down the sidelines, and incomplete. Oh, he was looking for Masadi, and Masadi and Errol Brown have an exchange of words. Masadi thought for a moment that he was going to be able to extend and get the throw, and he isn't happy with the bumping and shoving that took place at the end of that long toss into the end zone. But nothing more serious is going to develop as the Bombers take a 26-14 lead to the dressing room. Scott?
We can't be a day late. We can't be an hour late. We have to be ready for the Commonwealth Games.
What we need to do now is a lot more testing with real users.
Well, that's easy. That's really great.
Thank you, Mark.
When I think of IBM, it's the service. Rob and David.
Actually, to be serious, it'll all work.
If it doesn't, we've got a fast boat waiting.
It's going to be right on.
People of Earth, prepare to embark upon the most incredible journey ever undertaken by humanity. Lost in Space, the Collector's Edition. Soar into the unknown aboard the incredible Jupiter 2 with your first 2-episode video cassette, only $1.95. Featuring the unaired original pilot and the startling premiere episode in Adventures Beyond Imagination. Earth, 1997. Boy genius Will Robinson and his family head for a new life in a far-off galaxy, unaware that a mysterious stowaway will leave them all hopelessly lost in space. This is never-ending intergalactic adventure.
Dr. Smith!
Disaster at any moment. The suspense, the shock, the lure of the unknown. Your heart will race, your pulse will pound, your VCR will explode with excitement. To get your first 2-episode video cassette for just $1.95 plus $3 shipping and handling with subscription, get your credit card and call now, or mail, check, or money order to the address on your screen.
Here's a real weather summer forecast. Hot with plenty of heat. Polytel brings you the hottest blend of summertime hits, featuring premier Shabba Ranks and TBTBT. Plus DJ Ray and all-time classics by Aswad, Toots Hibbert, Bob Marley, and Boris Gardner. 16 sizzling tracks, including the new reggae version of this year's biggest hit. Believe it! You're gonna have a long, hot, scorching summer with Ragga Heat. Ragga Heat, available now on CD and cassette from Polytel.
At Skydome, Bombers with a 12-point lead at halftime. We welcome you now to Live at the Half. Until they change it to touch football, there's always going to be a risk of injury in this game. Stretched or torn ligaments, Charlie horses, pinched nerves, pulled hamstrings, those sorts of things are all commonplace. But fast rising now on football's hit parade of injuries is a mysterious tendon tear that cost the Bombers their quarterback last year and their top receiver this year. It seems all over North America, Achilles tendons have been snapping. You can't hear it, but football players from the NFL to the CFL have felt it, a horrifying rupture that renders a foot useless. And nowhere has the outbreak of ruptures and tears been worse than in Winnipeg. Yes, it might just as well be the motto of Winnipeg's professional athletes. First, there was Matt Dunnigan, working on a career season when he dropped back to pass on an October night and severed his Achilles. He knew it right away. And the feared injury has not been confined to the turf. Teemu Selanne, the city's superstar hockey player, was felled on the ice last season. And then just last week, David Williams, Dunnigan's favorite receiver and on pace for all sorts of records, felt the ominous tear or pop when he went down on an innocent-looking play. Months of rehab have begun for the veteran receiver.
Once I get out of the cast, I'm sure they have a bunch of stuff for me to do, and I'm sure Matt can guide me as well because he did the same thing.
So why have 3 of the premier athletes in this prairie metropolis suffered the injury in the space of 9 months?
I know you want me to say instead of their frozen Achilles tendons snapping like twigs, but I don't think that's a factor. I think that the people that are getting the injuries, like the quarterbacks, are particularly susceptible because when they back up to get into their pocket, they're actually stretching their Achilles tendon by dorsiflexing their ankles. So I think it's more the position that they play and the way they have to back up.
Like most other things to do with medicine, treatment of a torn Achilles has improved significantly. With proper treatment and hard work, athletes can count on a complete recovery. Who's to say Matt Dunnigan's recovery has not been complete? David Williams is 30 and determined to make his recovery.
When I leave this game, it's because I want to leave the game and I'm tired of playing. I don't want to do it anymore. Not because of something that, prevented me from going on with some of the goals that I've had. So this is not the way I want to leave the Canadian Football League, and this is not the way I'm going to do it.
There was some further proof in the first half, if any was required, that Matt Dunnigan's recovery is complete. He threw for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. The first, this one, to Gerald Alphin. The Bombers lead by 12 and happy to report no Achilles injuries in the first half of this game. Live at the Half returns to Skydome in Toronto in just a moment.
When you spoke, we acted by offering cars and trucks with features you refuse to do without at prices you can afford. We call it GM value pricing, the sensible way to buy a car or truck.
At work or at home, if you've ever had to count quantities of coins, you know how time-consuming and frustrating it can be. Well, you need the Coin Master. First invented for commercial use, the simple tube and tray makes counting and rolling incredibly quick and easy. Take coins of one of the 5 denominations and drop them in the tube. Line them up, then place the quarters in the quarter section of the counting tray. Instantly, we know there is precisely $7.75. To make a bankroll, fill the quarters section of the tray. Put the $10 in the tube, drop in a coin shell, tip the tube forward, and the coins slide into the wrapper. There's a roll ready for the bank. Watch a game using pennies. Fill the penny channel to its 50-cent capacity. Transfer them back to the tube, drop in a wrapper, and presto. The Coin Master comes with standard coin wrappers. Order now and use it for years to come. Only $19.95.
Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-465-0008.
This is Dave's lucky tie. This is his fishing gear. This is his little girl. This is his office. This is his favorite spot. This is what happened last Friday night.
This year, we introduced a radical way to buy a car. To date, 134,242 Canadians disagree. They're calling it the sensible way. GM value pricing. The sensible way to buy a car or truck.
Cool weather forecast to move into Toronto just about now, but it matters not. Inside the climate-controlled Skydome, Bombers lead through 30 minutes. Well, the CFL season is just about at the quarter pole. This has always been a pass-happy, high-scoring league, but we haven't seen anything quite like what we've seen so far in '94. There's a consensus on CFL quarterbacking. It's never been better, and Doug Flutie and Matt Dunnigan are the two best. They've torn up defenses from Baltimore to BC. Flutie is at his all-round best, leading the Stamps to club record point totals 2 weeks running before returning to earth last night in victory in Ottawa. And Dunnigan earned his place in football history with an extraordinary record-breaking performance in Week 2 against the Grey Cup champion Eskimos. He took the passing game to a whole new level. Dunnigan needed 1 game to break the CFL record. It took Ray Elgart 12 years to become the CFL's all-time leading receiver. He did it in Week 3 at Taylor Field before his own Saskatchewan Roughrider fans. The soft-spoken Elgart was almost embarrassed over the game being stopped in his honor. He's always been one of the CFL's most sure-handed receivers, and many of his catches have been tough over-the-middle grabs. He's still going strong. 800 career receptions is now a realistic goal. And for longevity, there's BC Lions kicker Lou Passaglia. No CFL player has been around longer. 2 weeks ago, Passaglia played his 289th CFL game, passing Ron Lancaster. I'm thinking we set a record on the CFL on CBC this season. We're 5 weeks in. We haven't yet had the commissioner, Larry Smith, on to address the nation on a CFL crisis. But, Larry, we did make the point in the preceding item. A lot of good things have happened in your league this season, but it looks as though fewer people have turned out to see those accomplishments. I think it's Cal Murphy who said it's almost ironic. Interest seems up, but attendance is down. Can you explain it?
Well, Scott, we have some situations as in Toronto and BC where we have new ownership in. Bill Comrie's second year, first year for the TSN Labatt people here. It takes time to rebuild a market after the market has not really had a good product. And Toronto and Vancouver are 2 of our big markets. It's going to take some time. You have to be patient. I'm up in the wheelhouse turning this wheel real quick, Scott, but it takes time for a big ship to turn, and that's going to take us a little bit of time.
Let's turn to expansion. I know you're not done with it yet. You've got an A list for next year, but there could be a fly in the ointment, and that is the North American Football League, a new outfit that wants to go into as many as 11 or 12 American cities, and maybe St. Louis, Memphis, and San Antonio all on your A list. Are you concerned?
Well, obviously, when anyone tries to compete with you, you have to be concerned. But the good news is we have a 102-year league. We have credibility. The people in the States are tired of startup leagues, and we're getting tremendous support in all of these cities. And when you've got something, then that's one thing. When you got nothing, that's another thing.
Larry, regardless of any problems the league has had over the years, Grey Cup Sunday is always the day that pulls fans together. Looks as though in '96 they might have to pull together and watch a game from Baltimore. Seems destined for Maryland. The game does in that year. What's the status of the decision?
Well, Scott, we're reviewing all the bids. Of course, we have some major competition with Edmonton, Hamilton, and Baltimore. Nothing's been decided yet, and we're going to keep everybody waiting right till the end.
All right, Larry, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Scott.
And here at Skydome, Don, I'd say a game at least until the final minute of the first half that befits a battle for first place in the East Division. Do you not agree?
Yes, I would agree, Scott. The Toronto Argonauts getting both of their touchdowns as the result of passes by Mike Kerrigan. Winnipeg with a touchdown toss at the end of the game, but the place kicking of Troy Westwood has been one of the big stories for Winnipeg. But let's talk about the 2 Toronto touchdowns first of all, James.
Well, Don, Toronto got off to a good start. Mike Kerrigan has been playing well the first half, the first couple of games. We see Jeff Fairholm with the initial touchdown for the Argonauts on a wheel route. He gets to the outside of the corner of the end zone, picks up the first touchdown, big score for the Argos.
But unfortunately, later for Fairholm and the Argos, he took a hit at center field and appeared to suffer a shoulder injury. But later in the first half, Eric Grage made a tremendous catch in the end zone.
It's been a tremendous contribution to the Argonaut offense. His 3rd touchdown in 2 games for the Argonauts. Just tremendous reception, fighting Donald Smith in the corner of the end zone, coming up with that tremendous touchdown to keep the Argos on a high spirit at that point.
And Gerald Wilcox is certainly putting up some big numbers in the first half of this football game. 6 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown.
Well, Don, just when the Argonauts thought they were going to be able to keep this game close, Gerald Wilcox came up with the big reception, working against Reggie Pleasant in the left side of the end zone. He pushed off right there at the last second, brought that ball in, and got that separation. And that's what good teams do. They find a way to get the points on the scoreboard at the critical points of the ball game.
Matt Dunnigan has been averaging better than 400 yards passing per game. He's on target to equal that total in tonight's football game. Scott?
Okay, Don, 30 minutes to go in this game. That's a half hour of football separating either Winnipeg or Toronto from first place in the East. And right now, we'd have to give odds on Winnipeg. The second half kickoff is next at Skydome.
what happens when a viper sheds its skin. Presenting the new 300 horsepower V10 Dodge Ram. The first truck that lives up to the name, pickup.
Pittsburgh, legendary for tough steel, is legendary for an even tougher paint. Pittsburgh paints. Paints that smooth on easily, cover completely, and dry quickly to a lasting sheen. You put a lot of pride into your home. Protect it with a paint legendary for toughness. Pittsburgh paints. You work too hard to paint with anything less.
Am I hearing this right? You want a great deal on a new car and you're considering a Buick Regal or a Toyota Camry? You do want V6 power, right? Well, no problem on this Buick Regal, but it'll cost a lot more on the Camry. Air conditioning with dual zone control? Sorry, not available on the Camry. And you wanted anti-lock brakes? Well, that's a biggie for the import. So you want all that and you're considering Camry? I thought you wanted a great deal. Spend quality time in a Buick Regal for thousands less than the imports at your BC Pontiac Buick dealers.
Put some money in our mattress, lay your head on a better bed, sleeping on a green spring walk chiropractic. Day or night, it's automatic. A horizontal treatment can't be beat. Sleeping on a green spring walk chiropractic. You should be sleeping on a green, You should be sleeping on a green. Should be sleeping on a green.
Available at Mike's Sleep Warehouse. The Blue Bombers lead by 12 as we get set to start the second half, and the Bombers will get the football as the Argos prepare to kick off. The Bombers actually kicked off to the Argos to start the football game, but they got the football on the opening kickoff as Titus Dixon fumbled. The Bombers were able to kick a field goal. Now the Bombers will be in possession as Norris Thomas starts out from the 15-yard line, finds a hole up the middle, and he's gone. Cornell Burbage of the Hamilton Ticats had a kickoff return for a touchdown this year. And 97 yards, Norris Thomas takes it for a Winnipeg touchdown on a kickoff return.
That is kind of a way that you can take the wind out of the sails of an opposing team. You start off the game with a fumble that led to a field goal. Now you get the big kickoff return. He hit it right up the middle. He bust the seam, kicked it to the outside. Smelly was not able to bring him down, and there was no chance that Wayne Lamley was going to run him down at this point.
97 yards for Norris Thomas. And the point after by Troy Westwood, and the Bombers now have a 33-14 lead. The Bombers have often been criticized over the last decade for not having an outstanding kickoff or punt returner. Well, Norris Thompson may have answered some of Thomas may have answered some of those critics with this return.
Well, their longest kickoff had been 21 yards, but right here you see the tremendous blocks laid right in the middle of the field, and that is the key, putting hat on hat, and that's how you draw it up on the chalkboard. And when you can come out on the field and execute it that way, you got to give kudos to the kickoff return team, and Norris Thomas was able to bring that down. Watch Carl Coulter right here, and Donald Smith. Watch Donald Smith put the hat on him right there. Get the key block, drop him to the turf. Carl Coulter came into this game tonight with bruised ribs. He left the game last week against Las Vegas. He was a question mark, and that time he might have thought he might have been better off staying out of the game.
Norris Thomas was a free agent signing by the Blue Bombers. He spent time with the New York Giants in 1993. He's out of a small school, the University of Wisconsin in La Crosse.
Is that a sport or the name of the school?
Well, these opening kickoffs have not been kind to the Toronto Argonauts tonight. They fumbled the kickoff to start the game, and then Thomas returns at 97 yards for a touchdown to begin the second half. Casola runs into some traffic as he tries to go wide, and the Argos will be scrimmaging 1st and 10 from their own 24-yard line. Scott?
Well, Don, one of the hazards of a hit, the like of which Jeff Fairholm took from Errol Brown, is that when the helmet is driven up into the shoulder, it causes what's called a burner. The nerves, I guess, temporarily tingle, and you lose feeling in your left arm, which Fairholm did. They were hoping he would have it all back early in this half of the game and be able to go in for second half action. But as of now, he's still waiting for it to settle down, and his status for the rest of this game is in doubt.
And as a result, Casola remains in at the slot back. Kerrigan fumbles when he's hit, and the Bombers come up with the football.
Great pressure by the Winnipeg defense. Mike Kerrigan looked to throw a hot that time, and he had to hold the ball, and Dale Lyles, coming back after missing a game, just planted Mike Kerrigan in the pocket and forced him to fumble the football.
Bill McCollins came up with the loose ball as Kerrigan was stripped of it by Del Lyles.
Well, we'll get Del Lyles coming from the left of your screen right here. He just runs through the Nike-Mo and just plants Mike Kerrigan. He puts that helmet right on the chin and drives him to the turf, forced the ball loose. Chris Schultz, you saw right down there at the end of the play, the big offensive tackle, is having to be helped off the field, who has had several key knee injuries over his career and was thinking about retiring prior to the season. Right there looked like he might have suffered another slight knee injury, and Coach Bob Ovilovich doesn't seem to be too pleased with the game's actions.
He trails by a score of 33-14. Dunnigan is looking for more, may get it with Wilcox. Touchdown. We've played 1 minute and 2 seconds of the second half, and the Bombers have scored 2 touchdowns.
Only in the CFL, Don, can something happen that rapidly, and Matt Dunnigan seized opportunity earlier in the first half when the Argonauts had a turnover, and Matt Dunnigan was able to come out and capitalize on it. Once again, we get Jill Wilcox working against Keita Crispina, got him turned around, and as a defensive back, that's a cardinal sin. Once you turn around, you can never recover, and he's beating him like a drum all night long.
Troy Westwood with the point after, and the Bombers, who had 26 points at halftime, now have a 26-point lead. Gerald Wilcox, 2 touchdowns last week against Baltimore, 2 touchdowns tonight against the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, the secondary of the Argonauts, we figured coming into the game tonight would have their hands full, and when you don't get any pressure on Matt Dunnigan up front from your front 7, and those big slot backs can run freely in the secondary without being challenged at the line of scrimmage, they get that running start. And you saw the move that he put on Crispina where he spun him around. There's no way he can recover and keep up with the Gerald Wilcox on that situation, Don.
Bob Ovilovich has seen the roof fall in on his team in this second half, in the first 1:02 of this second half. Keita Crispina, the halfback who has been victimized by Gerald Wilcox tonight. An unusual first name, Keita. He was named after an ancient king in Mali.
Well,
didn't know that, did you?
Well,
or do you care?
He will be hiding after tonight's contest. He don't want to be named after anybody. He might be named Toast by the time this is over with.
Bobby Gordon on the kickoff return, and he brings it out to the 36-yard line. A 23-yard return with Alan Wetmore making the tackle.
I guess it's a big thing for the Argonauts and the fans to have a specialty team play when nothing goes bad for a change. Having the opening kickoff brought back, Gordon has fumbled the kickoff, and just to maintain possession of the ball after kickoff is a big plus for them.
Well, Kerrigan will have to reverse a trend from the first 4 games of the year where he has struggled at times in the second half, piling up most of his passing yardage in the first half of football games through the first 4. And Mako, the ball carrier, gets it out to the 41-yard line, a pickup of about 5, stopped there by Del Lyles.
Well, what Winnipeg has done here thus far in the second half, Don, is that they come out in man-to-man defense. They're squeezing the receivers at the line of scrimmage, getting the jams on, not allowing Mike Kerrigan to throw the ball within his first 3 steps from the line of scrimmage. He's forcing him to pull it back down and try to go deep.
And the Argos continue to struggle on second down conversions as Kerrigan misses Masati with the pass. It's 2 and out for the Argos with 12:49 remaining in the third quarter. Chris Schultz suffered a knee injury in the first game of the season last year that put him out for the season. He came to training camp this year, left training camp, decided he wanted to come back after about a 5-day absence. But now, unfortunately, it looks as though he has re-injured the knee that kept him out all of last year and for a moment threatened to finish his career. Boyko takes the ball at the 24-yard line. Penalty flag in the play as Boyko brings it up to the 34. That was a 10-yard return after a 46-yard kick. We'll sort out the penalty for you when we return. 12:27 remains in the third quarter.
So, you decided to go out and become an entrepreneur. Hey, why not? You're young, aggressive, willing to take a few risks. It's no wonder small business drives our economy, and why we created Advantage Preferred Entry Service, our greatest long-distance savings plan ever for small companies. Hey, you've earned your stripes. Sign up today. After all, we view small business the same way you do.
Hired gun.
Hi. I'm Ken Stone.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Teaching small store owners how to take on a giant, the man who fights Walmart. Sunday night on Venture, right after Sunday Report.
At Skydome, Bombers have opened up a 26-point lead. I was perusing the Argo roster and was struck by the uniqueness of the name of number 90, Swift Birch, and then, warped as I am, I got to wondering where his might fit in on the CFL's list of unique or different names. I still like Wonderful Mons, a name from the 70s, is number 1. Then there's Birch, Yo Murphy of BC, as in Yo, get over here. Kita Crespina of the Argos was named after a king in Mali, and Prince Wembley III of Las Vegas, to our knowledge, is the only prince in the CFL. And you got to like, as you said in the first half, Don, Blaze Bryant, as in blazing speed for a running back. And for honorable mention, a nickname that I thought never got its share of publicity, and that's Network Curry. In his final year with Saskatchewan, James refused to speak to the local media, but wisely maintained his relationship with us on the network, and gee whiz, look where he is now.
Hey, Don. Hey, Scott, I was no fool, but you forgot Prince McJunkins, a former quarterback in Ottawa. So there's been a lot of princes in the CFL.
I'm going to leave that one alone. First and 10, Winnipeg back at the 16-yard line.
Don, all it was early tutoring to get this job. I knew what I was doing years ago.
A penalty on the punt return against Winnipeg, and there are going to be penalty flags here as there was a lot of movement at the line of scrimmage. It's offside against the Argos, says referee George Black.
Offside on the defense, 5-yard penalty, first down repeated.
Don, on that last series for the Argonauts offensively, Chris Schultz, the big offensive tackle, went down. We'll get a shot of it here. If we look at the top of our screen, we'll see as Mike Kerrigan drops back in the pocket, and we'll see Chris Schultz. If we can get a freeze right here, Mike Kerrigan rolls right into his knee, and that's where Chris Schultz went down right there, and he could be lost for a long time, and that's a loss that they can't afford to have.
And Blaze Bryant went down right there. When Chris Schultz left training camp and then returned, and that's a good sign that he's up and able to stretch that knee.
Yes,
he said one of the reasons he came back, even though he felt his knee had fully recovered from the injury of last year, was that he missed the camaraderie with his teammates. He missed being with the guys. Blaze Bryant, the ball carrier, and he should have a first down.
And I can attest for that, because when you leave the game of football, that is the one thing that you miss the most. I mean, coming to the locker room every day, seeing the guy, it's like a family situation. When you remove yourself away from the game, it becomes very tough mentally for players. It's not the game, but it's the friendships that you develop over the years. And he's been here a long time, and a lot of friends he's developed.
11 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Winnipeg first and 10. The ball is at the 28. Quickly to Gerald Alphen, and he'll have about 9.
Don Moan slid out from his outside linebacker position to make the tackle, but what the linebackers need to do, Whitley along with Moan, get out a little bit quicker, make Matt Dunnigan adjust his passing lane because there's no obstruction, and he can throw the ball freely to Wilcox and Alfin, and they've both had big nights tonight.
Second and short. Winnipeg leading by a score of 40-14. At the 37, the handoff to Bryant, and Bryant with some nifty footwork takes it up to the 50-yard line for a first down. Following the blocking of Chris Walby, there was some concern about the veteran offensive tackle as to whether he would be able to play this week because he was being bothered by gout. Scott?
Don, I just had a word with Chris Schultz, and he is eminently well equipped to make his own diagnosis, having suffered about 6 or 7 major knee injuries during the course of his career. And he says this one is not serious. He says he's got a bit of bruising, he suspects, on the inside of his right knee, and maybe a slightly sprained ankle, so he doesn't expect to be out for long.
Chris Johnstone has another Winnipeg first down, taking the ball inside the 50-yard line. Well, that's good news about Chris Schultz, not only for Chris Schultz himself personally, but for the Argos as a team.
Well, you know, it's even bigger, I think, for Chris, because you would hate to see him have to go under the knife once again, because those knees can only take so many surgeries, and he's had a multitude of them throughout his career, and it's a good sign, and it's a big plus on both behalves.
First and 10, quickly to Gerald Elf, and he can't hang on, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Tommy Henry. Alfin had it in his fingertips as the ball was juggled. Tommy Henry came up to make the interception.
A big break for the Argonauts. You'll see right here as Alfin tries to run with the ball before he makes the reception cleanly, and he saw Don Moan coming over and sort of ducked away from the hit of Don Moan, and Tommy Henry picked it off and gave the Argonauts the ball in great field position, but they're going to get an objectionable conduct penalty that is going to cost them another 15 yards to take away from that great play by Tommy Henry.
But the Argos will still have the football.
Interception. First down.
The objectionable conduct took place after the interception, taking the ball back to the 32-yard line. Henry last year played 9 games with Sacramento. In his debut with the Argos, he played the corner against Las Vegas. He's been moved inside for this game. Pass is complete for a first down. Bobby Gordon with his first catch of the football game at the 45-yard line.
Greg Clark, the inside linebacker, sliding over to make the tackle on Gordon. And that's what Kerrigan is going to have to do. He's going to have to come with more underneath routes to his inside receivers. He's lost Jeff Fairholm, and try to make some plays inside there.
The Argos, with the injury to Schultz, have had to move some people around. Namako, the ball carrier, he's been running well. He played college ball at Liberty. And with the injury to Mike Pinball Clemens, is getting an opportunity to start tonight at tailback.
Well, what you get with Namako in the backfield, you get more of a straight-ahead runner than what you get with Mike Clemens. You come with the search play. You get him the ball deep in the backfield, let him read his blockers, and he makes some nifty moves as he cuts up through the hole and picks up a first down.
7 carries for 61 yards for Namako. Kerrigan's pass incomplete. With the injury to Schultz, Carl Coulter has moved into the right guard position. Mike Jovanovich has moved over to right tackle, and Joe Burgos has moved over to the left tackle position, previously occupied by Chris Schultz. And Coulter is playing with some pain tonight. He was hurt last week against Las Vegas.
He has the bruised ribs. With Joe Burgos, Bobo Bilovich, when he came in, he played 3 offensive line positions in training camp, and he became their most versatile offensive lineman. So they put him at the strong side tackle where Chris Schultz would normally play to protect the backside of Mike Kerrigan.
Backside wasn't protected very well there as Kerrigan, in trouble, simply fires it out of bounds.
Well, there's only so many guys he can block. When you're seeing 3, Don, you and I couldn't have blocked half of one of those guys. But you'll see right here as they come with the blitz from the top of your screen, you see Lyles forcing him out of the pocket, but the pressure just comes, and Lyles is up there, Randolph and Clark. All of these guys, along with Lloyd Lewis, are after Mike Kerrigan, and he is not the most nimble of quarterbacks, so he did all he could do to save his life and get that pass off without taking a loss on the play.
Again, Winnipeg with just 1 man back. That's Alan Boyko waiting for this 3rd down kick by Lamley. The Bombers felt confident that they might be able to get through and block one of Lamley's punts tonight, but so far they haven't touched the ball. They've come close. Alan Boyko runs out of room as he is surrounded by several Argos, with Keith Costello making the tackle. 6:53 remains in the third quarter.
Is it possible for a car to have increased horsepower and increased fuel efficiency? Is it possible for a car to be agile, yet ride remarkably smooth? And is it possible for a car to be luxurious and still be affordable? It's not only possible, it's here. The new 1995 Maxima from Nissan.
How much hydroelectricity from Alcan's Camano completion project is being developed for export to the United States? Not 1 watt. Alcan is developing the power for future aluminum production in BC. Meanwhile, BC Hydro will use it to meet growing energy demands here at home. Camano completion. Growth we can all live with. For more information, call 1-800-94-ALCAN.
On the sidelines at Skydome, Cal Murphy is proof that one can make a complete recovery from heart transplant, and now Cal works actively in the cause of organ transplantation. He's got a friend on the bench here tonight. His name is James Bartlett from Mississauga, Ontario. He's 14 years old, had a heart transplant in March, and you're looking good. We like the pattern, by the way, you being on the sidelines along with Cal Murphy. Is Cal kind of a role model for you, James?
Yeah.
Enjoying the game?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Good.
All right, well, you're a man of few words, but I know your father, Dave, is going to tell us how your son ended up on the sidelines tonight.
Well, we just happen to be good football fans, and James noticed the story about Cal, and we gave him a call, and Mr. Murphy was kind enough to invite us down here and let James go on the bench, and it's something as a football fan he really, really appreciates. Well, sick kids have been great to us, and it's...
Okay, thank you both for your time. You both got a great vantage point for the game tonight. Enjoy the rest of it, and speedy recovery. Don?
Yes, and things are much more pleasant on the Winnipeg bench in the early stages of this third quarter now that the Bombers have opened up a 26-point lead. But I would like to add one thing. Last year in the Grey Cup game, one of the final things Cal said when I had a conversation with him prior to heading out onto the field for the start of the game, he said, although he was trying for his 10th Grey Cup victory, he wasn't thinking about the game for any personal goals he might achieve, but about the donor and the donor program that gave him the chance to be involved in last year's Grey Cup game. 2nd and 5, Winnipeg. Inside for Blaze Bryant, incomplete. 5:58 remains in the third quarter.
Reggie Slack limbering up on the sideline, looked like he might be coming into the game. Mike Kerrigan, as we had noted earlier, has not been getting the job done in the second half in the past 2 ball games, and is bring Reggie Slack in with about 6 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Maybe he can get something rolling. As we saw, Winnipeg came out and scored 2 touchdowns in less than a minute and 10 seconds of the third quarter. Maybe he can ignite the Argonauts in the same fashion.
Titus Dixon is the lone man back for this third down punt by Bob Cameron. Cameron's had a pretty easy night so far at Skydome. Here's comes some pressure by McCurdy coming from the right side. Cameron gets the kick away, and Titus Dixon now is looking for some running room, but is caught from behind by Jason Jakovich. A 17-yard return after a 43-yard kick.
Well, Slack is not going to come in after all. Mike Kerrigan is going to get another shot, but it's very critical here with Mike coming back into the game. Maybe he picked up a little motivation from Reggie warming up on the sideline, but he hasn't been sharp at all, and his receivers have been open. He just hasn't gotten them the football.
Nobody but Mike Kerrigan has taken a snap from center this year for the Argos. But we could see a quarterbacking change tonight unless he can get something going. And this won't be the tonic, as Bobby Evans intercepts, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers get the ball right back.
Well, Don, I think it might be the time to change quarterbacks. Bobby Evans was wide open. He had the right thing in mind. You throw to the open guy, but at least make sure that he has the same jersey color on that you have. You'll see Kerrigan right here. The pressure is not that bad. He steps up in the pocket, and he just lets one fly, and he throws well over the head of the receiver, Drage. Bobby Evans playing deep secondary right there, and great interception turnover once again for the Bombers, and they have the ball at the 21-yard line. A frustrated Mike Kerrigan.
3 times tonight, Kerrigan has been intercepted.
Last week he threw 4 touchdowns without an interception. Tonight he has 2 touchdowns to go along with 3 interceptions.
Gerald Wilcox is the man that Dunnigan was looking for, and he had Eddie Thomas all over him. And that draws a couple of penalty flags.
We see Coach Obilovich talking with Mike Kerrigan right there on the sideline, but Eddie Thomas being victimized by Gerald Wilcox, just running a seam route. Keith Costello getting the jam, and that's what you expect from your linebacker, but they didn't go into the flat. They went down the seam, and Eddie Thomas arrived too early, and Gerald Wilcox had him beat inside.
Wasn't much doubt that there was going to be a penalty call by Eddie Thomas on that one.
It was how many flags were going to be thrown.
Well, Dunnigan isn't going to get a chance to throw. He tried that pump fake, and as he pulled the ball down, he had a couple of Argo defenders around him, and Rodney Harding made the tackle.
Well, Mike Campbell was squeezing the pocket from his right defensive end. They got a good push for once against the Bombers' offensive line, and as he tried to come up through the seam, he tripped, and Rodney Harding finished him off.
The Toronto offense not only has given up fewer sacks this year, defensively, the Argos have created more sacks this year than they did last year.
And that will improve your defensive statistics tremendously.
Dunnigan was looking for Jackson. The pass was behind him. You know, Dunnigan, with his performance this year, has moved into the number 3 position all time in passing yardage behind Ron Lancaster and Tom Clements. Dieter Brock is the man he passed this year, and if he continues to perform as he has through the first 4 games of the season, he could catch Tom Clements and be number 2 all time in passing yardage.
Well, he's just put up phenomenal numbers this season, Don. I mean, he's like a man on a mission. Matt Dunnigan came into tonight's contest averaging 453 yards a game passing. He's been putting up the big numbers, but the team was only 500 coming into tonight's game. I think the big killing point was that they sort of lost their running game.
Penalty flags as Titus Dixon is brought down. Chris Sangaris was downfield along with Paul Randolph with 3:34 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Introducing the Wizard, a revolutionary new outboard marine motor. The Wizard fits any small craft, car toppers, inflatables, dinghies, or canoes. It's the motor that goes anywhere cleanly, quietly, with the greatest of ease. Ideal for fishing, hunting, cruising, or water skiing. No batteries, no gas, no fumes, no fuss. The Wizard is made from high-impact marine-grade materials for trouble-free boating and years of fun. Stuck on shore or always going in circles? Go straight with the Wizard. Need to get to the spot where the big ones are? The Wizard will take you there. Let the whole family in on the fun. The Wizard is tough, safe, and easy to use. Wizard. Have the security of a motor that always runs at the special introductory price of $89.95 plus shipping and handling. For only $89.95, the Wizard comes with a full manufacturer's warranty and money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-750-7995 to order the Wizard. That's 1-800-750-7995. Major credit cards accepted.
Big news in Major League Baseball today is that the players have decided to hold August 12th as their strike date. That means the Jays game with the Tigers here at Skydome tomorrow night, and the series with Detroit is safe now. We'll have the telecast of tomorrow night's game at 7:30. Our next telecast on the CFL on CBC is a week tonight. The Argos at BC Place in Vancouver to face the Lions, and the way this game is going, Bombers leading by 26. This will be a chance at redemption for Toronto. Also, later tonight at BC Place, Sacramento there to play the Lions. That's a late start, beginning underway at about 10 Eastern, and Saskatchewan's at Edmonton. That game should be beginning in about 20 minutes time, Don.
And Scott, maybe the reason all those harsh words you talked about at the start of our telecast were exchanged between Bob Obilovich and Cal Murphy was because last year the Argos took this man, Reggie Slack, off the Bomber practice roster, and he suited up for 11 games for the Toronto Argonauts. Penalty flags on the play as Slack hands off inside to Namako. It looked as though Del Lyles may have jumped prior to the snap.
But when you get a new quarterback in the game, that voice inflection changes, and you get those antsy defensive linemen trying to make a play, and Lyles was caught.
Offside, number 56 in the defense. First down repeated.
Del Lyles looks at the Jumbotron to confirm that he was the man offside. Kerrigan, 3 interceptions. Dunnigan, 3 touchdown passes, and more than doubling the passing yardage. Well, this time Del Lyles atones for his earlier miscue by bringing down Namaco short of a first down.
Playing that outside linebacker position just like you draw it up. Del Lyles looking down inside. He comes across. He squeezes the corner. He folds back inside against Casola. He plants the Nightmo right to the turf. First thing hitting the back is that number. Look at Blaine Smith here in the center. Your offensive line against Stan Mickles there. Those two players have faced each other in many a battles.
Evans was coming on the blitz. That means something's open, and there's the pass from Masadi. He's gone. Well, Bobby Evans was blitzing, and Reggie Slack and Paul Masadi combined perfectly to find the open area, and Masadi gets his 3rd touchdown of the season.
Don, you get that change at the pivot position. You get that new bit of enthusiasm at quarterback. We thought Reggie Slack was going to come in the previous series, but right here, you see him on the blitz. When Evans came, he vacated that halfback spot. Masadi Red came inside, and Smith could not keep up with him. He's very deceptive speed-wise. People just don't realize how fast Paul Masadi is.
Wayne Lamely adds the point after, and the Argos have cut into the Winnipeg lead, reducing the deficit to 19 points with 2:14 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Well, you see Reggie Slack, he had time from his offensive line. Look at this tight spiral on that football, and Paul Masadi had got in the seam where Donald Evans had vacated. When he came on that halfback blitz, he broke off to the inside. Donald Smith could not keep up with him, and Paul Masadi knew that he was not going to be caught from behind.
Reggie Slack obviously happy with his first touchdown pass of this season as he puts the ball perfectly into the hands of Paul Masadi. A good read on the part of both the quarterback and Masadi, with the halfback blitz by Bobby Evans failing to work and putting Winnipeg in a deficit position in the secondary.
A big key now, Don, how can the Argonauts parlay that into their special teams and defense? Can they keep that momentum rolling? Because down by only 19 points with a little over a quarter of a football left to play, the game is not out of reach in the CFL. Now it's going to be put on the defensive shoulders right here to hold the Winnipeg offense.
Blaze Bryant picks up the ball. He and Thomas got a little confused as to who was going to handle it initially, and the return is limited to 20 yards. The Argos moved just 2 plays and 66 yards in just 2 plays. The big play, the 60-yard strike from Reggie Slack to Paul Masadi for the major score. And now the Argos have to hope that their defense can hold the Bombers and get the ball back in good field position, because there still is plenty of time with 1:54 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
And, Don, that wasn't a bad way for Reggie Slack to get his first completion of the 1994 CFL season, a 60-yard completion for a touchdown to Paul Masadi to pull the Argos back into this contest.
Blaze Bryant stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Scott?
Don, I know you mentioned Chris Walby's gout earlier. He doesn't like talking about it, perhaps because it's an affliction normally associated with the elderly, but I'm only quoting the Bomber medical staff, but I've been told consuming copious quantities of beer can bring on the gout. Walby said to me this week that Ross Hodgkinson, I'll get back to it in a second. Carry on, Don, please.
Peter Crespino with an interception, and the Argos are going to be right. The ball comes loose, and it's recovered by Reggie Pleasant. The Argos are going to be right back in this football game as Dunnigan is intercepted by the man he has victimized in tonight's football game, defensive back Peter Crespino.
Peter Crispina is atoning for many of those passes that he has been caught in front of him. That time, Matt Dunnigan went to the well maybe one too many times because Crispina read it perfectly. We will see over top. Crispina's out here. He's going to come down the receiver in the slot. He's going to break in front of him right here and make the interception as Matt Dunnigan throws it. Right here, you see Crispina coming underneath. Great break on the football. Reggie Slack is operating at the 20.
Titus Dixon on that hitched screen, and it was read perfectly by Paul Randolph.
A conservative play call that time by Reggie Slack, trying to come with the slip screen. A safe pass for Titus Dixon so he can get the ball early and try to get turned upfield and run with it, but he didn't pick up any yardage on that, and now he's forced with a 2nd and 10.
26 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Reggie Slack operating from the shotgun. He replaced Mike Kerrigan, the starter, on the last series, and now Slack's in trouble, but he's able to run away. And he'll get a first down, forced out of bounds by Paul Randolph.
A very gifted quarterback, Reggie Slack. You don't want to see him running with the ball out in open field. A little more mobile than a Mike Kerrigan, but he's had numerous knee surgeries. Look like he's corralled in the pocket. You'll see the pocket collapse around him with Bill McCollins and Dale Lyles, but he escapes out to the outside. Joe Burgos, the offensive tackle, leading the way, and Randolph ran him out of bounds at the 11-yard line, Don.
Slack, as you mentioned, has had problems with his knees. He wears braces on both knees. Handoff inside to Namako, and he'll score. Well, he won't. I thought he was going to get to the end zone, and I think he thought he might as well, but he was stopped at the 1 by Donald Smith on what should be the final play of the third quarter.
A lead draw by Namako as he breaks it out to the left side, and looked like he was off to the races as he got through Earl Brown, but Donald Smith came up to meet him at the goal line, and Donald Smith is still down, but a great run by Namako and execution by Slack.
Well, the Argos are going to make this a most interesting finish. 15 minutes remain here at Skydome.
Okay?
Uh-huh. Nobody offers more fiber optic lines than BC Tel.
Mom? Oh, I know why you're calling. I can hear the rain.
And clearer lines mean closer ties.
Way to go, Bo. Nice job, Bo. Way to go, way to go, way to go.
All right, Bo!
Almost there, Bo.
Almost?
And it's all yours.
You think he can do it?
Lipton Original. You can't wait to guzzle, gulp it, chug it.
It ain't hip to sip.
Lipton Original. This ain't no sipping tea.
Witness Germany. The wall is down, but an identity crisis is building.
If you try to forget everything, you'll end up not knowing who you really are.
Witness old hatreds and new fears.
Help! The neo-Nazis are winning.
Witness the changes.
They never told us it was going to be like this.
Michael Ignatieff with The Nation returns on Witness, Tuesday night at 8.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by BC Tel, the official provider of telecommunications to the Commonwealth Games.
back to Skydome. The first play of the fourth quarter. Reggie Slack trying to sneak it in from the 1, and he was stopped. Norris Thomas is in the ball game, replacing Donald Smith, who was injured at the goal line on the final play of the third quarter, trying to stop and successfully preventing George Namako from getting into the end zone.
Well, the way he's been running the ball as of late, I'd be inclined to give him the ball, but they're coming with the scatter formation, so it's going to be a quarterback sneak. But we had some movement at the start of the play, Don. I think Pierre Vercheveau might have moved at left offensive guard initially.
And if that's the case, it will take the Argos back to the 6-yard line.
Procedure on the offense, number 59, first down repeated.
And that's just what we're going to get. Look at your left guard right here. Pierre Vercheveau come out of his stance and tried to get back, but all you need is that initial movement, and the defensive line came across and made the contact.
We should correct something. It is still first down because they started prematurely. And it is first and goal now. They had started, the Argos were anxious to put it in the end zone, and they started the play before play had been whistled in. Fine play by Evans, knocking it away from Bobby Gordon.
Nice break on the ball by Bobby Evans. Reggie Slack was being pursued by Brandon Rogers on the play as he broke towards the sideline. As you'll see right here, Brandon Rogers gets around as Reggie Slack releases the ball and pushes him to the turf, but a great break on the ball by Evans to deflect it away from Gordon in the end zone.
Second and goal from the 6. Winnipeg leading 40-21. Chris Schultz still out of the Argo lineup, forcing Toronto to do some adjusting along the offensive line. Slack lays it out for Gordon. Touchdown. Nice touch on the ball by Reggie Slack as he laid it over the head of Bobby Evans into the arms of Gordon. There's also a penalty flag on the play, but it was offside. Winnipeg gets declined.
What an infusion of life the Argos have received from the insertion of Reggie Slack into the lineup. He came in and he made something happen on his first pass of the game. Now he comes back. Look at the fade that he throws to Gordon in the back of the end zone as he got the separation when Evans slipped as they made contact, went down on the scoreboard. Once again, the Argos.
Lamley adds the point after. And suddenly that very comfortable Winnipeg lead has been reduced to 12 points. That's what they had at halftime.
Well, been outscored 20-7 here. As of late, the Argonauts have just been rolling offensively. As we see Reggie Slack, there's no pressure in his face from that Winnipeg defensive front. As we spoke about, they came in the game with only 1 sack between those down 3 linemen, and the offensive line has given Reggie Slack time as Lloyd Lewis arrived late, and he throws up the arms, signaling touchdown.
He was a 3-year starter at Auburn, and Reggie Slack established a passing record during his days in the World League of American Football. He was in Winnipeg's camp, and as I mentioned earlier, spirited off the Winnipeg practice roster in a move that did not sit well with Cal Murphy last year by the Argos.
And he was also tutored by another former CFL great when he was down in Houston, Warren Moon. He served a year in Houston behind Warren Moon as his protege, but he couldn't get any playing time, and that's when he moved on to the World League. Now he's here working for the Argos tonight.
Blaze Bryant takes the kickoff. And he brings it back out to the 43-yard line. Tommy Henry is there to make the tackle, a 23-yard run back after a 55-yard kickoff. 13:49 remains in the fourth quarter.
Don, I want to get back to the story I was trying to tell earlier about Chris Walby's gout that was rudely interrupted by Keita Crespina's interception that led to the touchdown. I'm only quoting the Bomber medical staff. They say that consuming copious quantities of beer can bring on the gout. And in fact, Ross Hodgkinson, the Bomber trainer, entered in his report this week that the offensive lineman's been known to drink lots of beer after games, copious quantities. Bluto's only question was, what's copious, 1 case or 2?
Dunnigan is caught and dropped for a loss by Carroll.
Kevin Carroll, the big rookie nose guard, with his second sack of the game tonight. He had 3 last week versus Las Vegas. You'll see the pocket collapse around Don Moan, and Rodney Harding forces Matt Dunnigan up in the pocket. And as you do at the middle of the line, you got to press the pocket, and Kevin Carroll from his nose guard position there to pick up the sack to get the big play defensively for the Argonauts.
2nd and 14, Toronto. Dunnigan throws deep for Wilcox. Wide open down at the 25-yard line. What a night Gerald Wilcox is having.
The Argonauts took a gamble defensively right there, Don. They came with the safety blitz. They brought Brian McCurdy, and he didn't get there in time. He tried to get up in Matt Dunnigan's face. There was no one in the middle of the field, and Gerald Wilcox went right down the seam and came up with the big reception before Eddie Thomas could stop him at the 25-yard line.
8 catches now for 175 yards for Gerald
Wilcox. Watch the blitz right here, Don. As you see it, as you come over the top, you'll see him go airborne. Right there, as you see him go over Blaze Bryant, and that's where the vacancy was in the secondary.
1st and 10, Winnipeg from the 26-yard line. Action, Jackson gets the touchdown. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come right back after Reggie Slack appeared to have the Argos back in the football game, and Matt Dunnigan goes the aerial route, first to Wilcox and then to Jackson for the touchdown.
You talk about action-packed action. That's what we've had here tonight at Skydome, Don. Matt Dunnigan able to come back and answer as he gets Alfred Jackson on a deep slant route, and he got behind Eddie Thomas right there, and he just got the separation, and he was off into the end zone for the touchdown.
Jackson has certainly been living up to his nickname this year. 5 touchdown receptions. He had 4 against the Edmonton Eskimos in Matt Dunnigan's record performance. And the point after by Troy Westwood has quieted the crowd here at Skydome.
Well, Alfred Jackson has been a very pleasant surprise. Last season, he started off in the Winnipeg secondary where he served dual duty. You'll see Matt Dunnigan right here not getting any pressure from that Argo front. And as he throws inside, and Jackson had that inside release on Eddie Thomas, there's no way that the defensive back can keep up with him. And Matt Dunnigan right here, after he throws that strike, congratulating Chris Johnstone on keeping those Argo defenders off of him, allowing him to hit Jackson in the end zone for the major.
Matt Dunnigan with 4 touchdown passes tonight. 2 of them have gone to Gerald Wilcox, and the most recent to Alfred Jackson, and the Bombers have a 47-28 lead with 11:36 remaining in the 4th quarter.
Well, just when the Argonauts seem to be getting back into this contest, we see the yardage right there. 3 plays, 67 yards, 2 minutes and 21 seconds elapsed on the 26-yard touchdown pass to Jackson. Matt Dunnigan was able to strike back quite rapidly there to answer that Reggie Slack touchdown to Bobby Gordon, marching right back down the field. Only 3 plays, and in the end zone once again the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Dunnigan now has 240 career touchdown passes, number 3 in the all-time list, behind Ron Lancaster and Tom Clements. Bobby Gordon takes the kickoff at the 10. He stumbled as he tried to move up the middle and ran into one of his own players and is down at the 31. That's where Toronto will scrimmage when we return.
Let's go, let's go.
You know, I'm ready for some straight talk about long-distance savings.
Right now, some long-distance discounters are throwing a lot of big numbers around.
How do they come up with them?
First, they take their lowest discounted rates. Then they compare it to BCTEL's highest undiscounted rate. Even though BCTEL has savings plans and time-of-day discounts. Puts a different slant on things, doesn't it?
It's the menswear sale you've been waiting for. Dunn's Taylor's semi-annual clearance sale. Save on famous brand name suits by Baumler, Strelson, Profilo, Ashbridge, and more. All priced to sell. Single and double-breasted styles, blazers, sports jackets, slacks up to 50% off. Now is the time to replenish that wardrobe while everything is on sale. Dunn's Taylor's has earned a solid reputation for service and selection. Now, get the same great values at unbeatable prices during the semi-annual clearance sale on now at Dunn's Taylor's, 390 West Hastings and Homer.
Mike Kelly, the man in the middle with the neat hairdo. And I apologize to Mike for that comment, but he spent a fair bit of time in Toronto last year. Not a very pleasant time, but the end result certainly was. He was here for about 4 weeks when his daughter, Lindsay Rose, was in the Toronto hospital for sick children. She had her pancreas removed, but fortunately, she has made a recovery. She is a dependent diabetic, but she's a healthy young lady today celebrating her first birthday. And Patty and Mike went through some very trying times last year, with Mike returning to Winnipeg just before the playoffs, and Lindsay Rose celebrating her first birthday today.
Well, Don, we just looked at Mike Kelly's hairdo. We're looking at Matt Dunnigan's hairdo, and I think that Mike Kelly's hairdo might be a little more becoming on you than Matt Dunnigan's hairdo.
You and I are in no position to crack hair jokes. I can tell you that. Jeff Fairholm is back in the ball game, and he takes the pass for a gain of about 8 yards.
What do you mean, that we're closer to Mike Kelly than we are to Matt Dunnigan?
A lot closer.
Well, Kep would qualify for Matt Dunnigan's status now. He has the big hair.
10:52 remaining in the ball game. Slack is looking at second and about 1.5 yards. Inside handoff to George Namako. And the young man is running well, taking the ball out to the 47 for a Toronto first down. He's carried 10 times for 80 yards. The Argos have scored 7 points in every quarter. The Bombers exploded in the second quarter for 20, and then in the first 1:02 of the third quarter got 14 more.
That wouldn't be a bad poker hand. 4 of a kind. I only said that because they have live betting in Vegas on CFL football.
Pass is knocked away by Norris Thomas. It was intended for Paul Massotti.
Massotti had gotten behind Thomas on the play, but the thing about that play, even though he came back and batted it down, Errol Brown had come over from his free safety to cover the field, and he would have been able to track down Massotti if he had caught that pass.
Second and 10. The ball is at the 47. Oh! Reggie Slack does not get a chance as he had McCollins in his face just as he was trying to cock his arm to throw.
Quarterbacks cannot throw when they're in that position. And soon as Reggie Slack set up in the pocket, McCollins is beating his man Mike Jovanovic to the inside on an inside move, and he just planted Reggie Slack back at the 42-yard line. Big play by the Winnipeg defense. You come out, you get the big touchdown on the three-play drive, and the defense is able to come up with their first sack of the night from the defensive line.
Jackson and Boyko are back for the third down punt by Wayne Lamley. Pressure coming from the outside from Bobby Evans, and he just failed to get a piece of the Lamley punt. Boyko is down as he takes the ball at the 34-yard line, a return of 4 yards with 9:24 remaining.
Where do you go when the kids are in tow and you hear that old refrain?
We're hungry, Dad.
You look in your pocket and all that you've got is $2 to your name. That's easy. Go for 10 bits, go for 10 bits at Tim Hortons today. With 10 fresh flavors every day, everyone can have their way. Yeah! You've always got time for 10 bits.
What's your favorite kind?
And get a good locksmith, sir.
Thanks, officer.
Every day, people trust the Yellow Pages to put them in touch with professionals like Carl.
Secure tight, Carl speaking. I've just had my place ripped off. Could you fit some new locks tonight?
Sure, no problem. Where are you? Well, that should do the trick. You okay?
Took my TV. Can't even watch the game.
Well, don't take it personally. Come on, I'll buy you a beer. We'll catch the end of the game. Come on.
VC-Tel Yellow Pages will always be there.
James, take a look at the monitor. You must remember this night.
Hey.
No. I'm not asking you to wave. Read the monitor.
Oh, what is that? James Curry recorded 4 quarterback sacks versus Ottawa. That guy must have been a heck of a ball player, you know.
And then how many did you record when you played for Ottawa, or when you played for Saskatchewan, or when you played for... Should I name all the teams in the league?
Well, I was one of the fortunate players. The few games that I did play in the CFL, to average a sack a game throughout my career.
And you have a couple of Grey Cup rings to prove it. One with the Argos and another with Saskatchewan. 47-28 is the score with 9:24 remaining here at Skydome. The Bombers scrimmaging 1st and 10. They are at their own 34-yard line. The Bombers play consecutive games on the road. Next week, they are at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa to take on the Rough Riders. Donegan was looking for Jamie Holland, trying to take advantage of his speed going down the sidelines. But Holland got bumped as he tried to come off the line of scrimmage.
You know, at the end of tonight's game, Matt is going to have to go in and get an ice pack and put on that arm. He came out firing deep to start the game, and he hasn't eased off at all here in the 4th quarter. He is still throwing those bombs. We might have to nickname him the Mad Bomber the way he's throwing the ball this season.
Well, he's about 100 yards shy of his seasonal average.
Maybe that's what he's gunning for.
Pass is complete this time to Holland. Holland will be a yard short of a first down, it appears, depending on where they spot it, but it looks as though it'll be at the 43-yard line.
But he came up about a half-yard short. He got a generous spot once the second official flew in there and spotted the ball, but this is a situation where they may choose to go for it, Don.
Third and 1. Cal Murphy is one who has always believed that you should be able to pick up a yard in the Canadian Football League.
So at this point, you wouldn't call it gambling. I just want to check your repertoire.
Hey, you got 2 Grey Cup rings. He's got 9.
Well, he's a couple of years older than I am, so I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Mine came as a player, though.
Third down, and Donegan keeps and goes up across the 45 with 8:23 remaining. Let's go down to the sidelines, and here's Scott.
Don, all of us at CBC Sports are looking forward to our coverage of this major project coming up in Victoria, BC, the Commonwealth Games, opening ceremonies on August 18th, and then we'll have daily coverage through to the 28th, some 90 hours of coverage from Victoria. Trials for different sports been going on across the country of late. I know you just covered the track and field championships, which were the Commonwealth trials in Victoria, Don, and I'll have the Commonwealth Games boxing trials from Grand Prairie this Saturday on CBC Sports.
And the Commonwealth Games boxing event should be most interesting, as will all events in Victoria, and the city is excited and prepared for the '94 Commonwealth Games. Well, Cal Murphy got 3 Grey Cup rings as a head coach in Winnipeg. Actually, in 1988 and 1990, he was the general manager. 1990, the general manager, and assistant coach with Montreal in 1977, and then the string of 5 in a row with Edmonton from 1978 to 82.
Well, if I ever leave the box and go into the coaching or management field, maybe I can pick up a couple more.
Sideline pass intended for Holland, incomplete. So with 7:12 remaining, the Bombers are forced to send out their punting unit.
Don Moan, the 13-year veteran, going out there laying that hit on Jamie Holland when that pass went incomplete, showing the intensity that you must keep for 60 minutes throughout a football game. It has to be a very frustrating night for Don. Just when they thought they were getting back in the game, Winnipeg struck quickly and was able to get that separation once again to make the score 47-28.
Good punt by Cameron. Dixon Dodges the first wave of Winnipeg tacklers, but can't escape Jason Jakovich. A 5-yard run back after a 48-yard kick by Bob Cameron.
One of the things Winnipeg does is sacrifice a great return man in chance of having the football. Boyko has such great hands. Cal Murphy would rather that they have the ball and let Matt Dunnigan in his high-powered offense march the ball down the field and not worry about having a return man who'll get you 10 to 12 yards every time you have a punt return.
Reggie Slack, 1st and 10 from the 23. Can't find a receiver, is forced to try and run, and then is caught from behind. Stan Mikowicz finished the job. The Bombers have some of the more veteran players in the Canadian Football League. I mentioned earlier that Bob Cameron is 40 years of age.
Yeah, we saw a lot of gray hair down there prior to the game.
Stan Mikowicz is 36, Chris Walby 37, and Miles Gurrell 38.
They'll get their pension before they retire.
They may be cashing pension checks when they're still playing. George Namako on 2nd down, stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Very questionable call when you need to pick up 4 yards on 2nd down and you're trailing by 47 to 28. Why do you stay on the ground? You need to try a little safe short pass and pick up the 1st down to keep that drive going, because you don't get many opportunities with less than 6 minutes to go in the game and you're trailing by 19 points.
I'm just saying, but you
Just one man back this time. It's Alan Boyko for Winnipeg. Boyko, a most versatile individual. He has played a variety of positions during his time with the Blue Bombers. Kickoff returner, punt returner. He's played a defensive back, a slot back, and a wide receiver. 5:29 remains in the game.
Okay?
Uh-huh. Nobody offers more fiber optic lines than BC Tel.
Mom? Oh, I know why you're calling. I can hear the rain.
And clearer lines mean closer ties.
Miles Gurrell is 6'8". He is 38 years of age, but don't believe that weight number. He admitted at training camp he checked in at 341 pounds. But tonight's game is a milestone for the big guy. This is his 272nd career game, putting him number 3 in the all-time list behind Lou Pasaglia and Ron Lancaster. He moved past Roger Aldag tonight.
Well, he admitted prior to the game also the only way he was going to catch Lou is that he ever quit playing, because the numbers that Lou are putting up out there in BC are just phenomenal.
And the numbers Dunnigan is putting up are pretty impressive, although that wasn't one that Matt will recall for a long time, as it was almost picked off by Kevin Whitley.
Well, Whitley playing linebacker tonight for the first time, moving in from a halfback position, made a great read on Matt Dunnigan that time, getting out into the flat, and that's where the Argos have had problems tonight, getting their linebackers out in the flat. You see massive Chris Walby right here blocking on Swift Birch. Those feet might be giving him a little bit of a problem tonight because he's trying to go down low and slow down those defensive linemen.
2nd and 10 Winnipeg from the 45. Hennigan comes right back with a completion to Gerald Alphen. The ball is taken away by Tommy Henry. Well, they're ruling an incomplete pass. As he came down, the ball was knocked away by Tommy Henry.
Well, a good defensive stand, nevertheless, by the Argonauts, needing to create some big plays, and that time they were able to stop Winnipeg 2 and out, because sometimes teams have a tendency to just give up, and the Argonauts are still playing intense defensive football.
Alphen did have possession of the ball, but as he was coming down, Henry knocked it loose. Reggie Pleasant was going after a block, didn't get there in time. And now Titus Dixon will try and make something happen on the return. But Blaze Bryant was downfield to make the tackle at the 20-yard line. 4:07 remains in the game. Scott?
Well, Don, you may recall in the final play of the third quarter, Bomber cornerback Don Smith going down heavily in the end zone. At first, they were concerned he might have hit his head on an opposing player, but they're puzzled now because when they got to him, he said, hey, I didn't hit anything. I just feel like I weigh 300 pounds and I'm exhausted. I just can't get up. So they brought him to the bench, and he's still a bit lethargic here, unable to get onto the field, so he won't play again tonight. There is a touch of concern. He might be in the early stages of chicken pox, as that's what one of his friends, Daryl Sampson, is suffering from, but they just don't know what's wrong with him right now, although I'm sure he's going to be fine.
Pass is complete to Dixon, and Kim Phillips is after him. With Donald Smith out of the lineup, Norris Thomas has been playing the right corner position for Winnipeg.
Well, they can't stand too many injuries back there in that back end. You lose Daryl Sampson, and all of a sudden now Donald Smith is down, and you get kind of thin in those ranks, and you don't like to rotate a lot of players back there, because that cohesiveness that they develop when they play together, knowing the position that each other is going to be on the field, what to expect when they can cut their coverage and they know that they have some support on the back end.
Slack fumbled the football and got up to the 30-yard line. Did he get a first down? It looked as though there was some confusion between he and Namako as to whether or not he was going to give the ball to his tailback.
Well, Don, what he was trying to do was run a sprint draw. Namako saw Lloyd Lewis come up in the hole and took his eye off of the football, and Reggie Slack had to pull it out and try to pick up the first down on his own, which he did.
Now he throws to Bobby Gordon, and Gordon will have another Toronto first down at the 45 with 3:22 remaining in the game.
Well, it's a plus for the Argonaut offense not to give up with a little over 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Bobby Gordon working inside from his slot position inside of Paul Mazzotti, and Reggie Slack reading the coverage and firing for the first down.
For Paul Mazzotti. Oh, what a grab he makes. He was fully extended as he reached out at the 25-yard line to give the Argos a first down. You're a what?
I'm a witch. I am a witch.
And what a wonderful witch she is. She's bewitched. Ready to cast her spell on you with Bewitched, the collector's edition. Your first 4-episode video cassette is only $1.95 plus shipping and handling with subscription. Return to those carefree days of 1960s suburbia at Darren and Samantha's house. You never know what's going to happen next or who'll pop in for a visit. Nosy neighbors. Not to mention a meddling mother-in-law.
How would you like to spend your wedding night with a bullfrog?
And Samantha is at the center of it all. A witch with a twitch for attracting all sorts of trouble.
Well,
it's pure magic. So, for classic comedy that'll enchant you, get Bewitched, the collector's edition.
To get your first 4-episode video cassette for just $1.95 plus $3 shipping and handling with subscription, get your credit card ready and call now, or mail, check, or money order to the address on your screen.
Paul Mazzotti coming into this game was the only Argo receiver with a 100-yard game. That was 7 catches for 182 yards in a losing cause in Regina on the 22nd of July. And tonight he has another 100-yard game thanks to a couple of big catches, a 60-yarder late in the third quarter and this 40-yard gain. on a pass from Reggie Slack.
Well, that last effort there, Don, by Paul Mazzotti was just a tremendous effort. It shows the heart that he has with 3 minutes to go in the game, trailing by 19 points, that every play is a valuable play. And he went out, he sacrificed his body, made the great reception to give his team the ball at the 24-yard lines with an opportunity to pick up another major score.
1st and 10, Toronto. Reggie Slack for Mazzotti again. And he has another first down, stopped by Bobby Evans down at the 6.
Nice play call and execution by the Argonauts. Reggie Slack, you see Paul Mazzotti, he's coming underneath on what's called a slip screen. You see Bobby Gordon coming out, getting the block, along with Pierre Verchereau from his left guard position, and Mazzotti picking up valuable yardage.
End zone for Bobby Gordon. He's got it.
You know, Don, the Argonaut coaching staff could be faced with a dilemma next week because of what Reggie Slack has done coming into the game tonight. He was their starter at the end of last season. Only a knee injury took him out of the challenge for the #1 job in training camp. But since relieving Mike Kerrigan here in the second half, he has come out and put a lot of big numbers up for the Argonauts, and that was just a great play execution all the way through that drive to get him in the end zone for the major.
9 of 11. Slack is completed for 162 yards as the Argos go for a 2-point convert. Slack for Titus Dixon. He's got the 2.
Don, we got a flag down. We might get a pick right here, which is a normal procedure, a wheel route, but the official that time just threw the flag on it, and normally they just let it go. And it's going to cost the Argos this 2-point conversion.
It is an interference call against the Argos, and Obilovich can't believe that his team was flagged.
99 out of 100 times in the CFL that flag won't be thrown, but that time they threw it on a 2-point conversion.
Forward pass interference by the offense number 8. 10-yard penalty. Repeat the convert attempt.
Well, they will get another try.
Well, this takes them out of that 2-point range in this situation where you'll have to bring in the kicker Lamley, because this is a long ways, 15 yards to pick up a 2-point conversion, but it looks like they're going to keep the offense on the field and go for it.
Dixon took a big hit from the safety, Errol Brown, as he made the catch at the goal line.
Errol Brown has been bringing the hammer tonight, as they would say. As Titus Dixon crossed the goal line, Errol Brown greeted him and planted him at that point.
Now from the 15, the Argos are going to try for the 2 points. Slack won't get a chance to throw. Paul Randolph was coming from his linebacking position, and Randolph is able to drop Reggie Slack before he gets a chance to throw. There have been people who have suggested this year that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, noted for doing so many different things defensively, perhaps haven't been stunting and overloading with their linebackers as much this year as they have in the past.
Well, Don, when you look at this game, they came into this game giving up a whopping 37 points a game, and they're almost at that point now have given up 34 to the Argonauts. And another telling statistic, 445 yards of offense that this defense has been giving up. But they have not been able to get the pressure on opposing quarterbacks coming into this game with only 7 sacks. As we witness here once again, that great pass by Reggie Slack to Bobby Gordon. But watch the hit by Dale Lyles, the concentration of Reggie Slack staying in the pocket, watching the flight of the football as it rests softly in Bobby Gordon's hands.
Reggie Slack coming into the ball game and firing touchdown passes to put the Argos back into contention, but with only 2:32 remaining, it appears to be too little and too late. 47-34 is the score. But the Bombers scored 2 touchdowns in 1 minute and 2 seconds to start the third quarter. Well, this is a short kickoff that Bobby Evans is going to grab at the 47-yard line and bring it back out to the 52.
Well, it can be done here, Don. The Bombers have not been running the football. Matt Dunnigan has felt that he should keep throwing the ball, and right here will be a test for him. Will he keep throwing? Because if you get the 2 incompletions, and in the last 3 minutes of the half, the clock stops. So that is an ally for the Argonauts right here. So if Matt Dunnigan comes out and fires 2 incompletions, all of a sudden the Argonaut has the ball with 2 minutes remaining in the game. And that last drive only took it 1 minute and 35 seconds to score.
Blaze Bryant had lined up behind Dunnigan. Now Dunnigan puts it in the air for Gerald Alphen, and he takes it down to the 30-yard line.
I guess if you keep picking up 30 yards per pass, it won't make any difference if the Argonauts get the ball back. They came with the all-out blitz. They brought the linebacker and the free safety in. When you bring your free safety, there's no one in the middle of the field, and you have to get there, and the Argonauts didn't get there. Tally Williams is in the game because McCurdy had gone out. He was knocked a little woozy on a couple series ago, and Tally Williams was not able to get there, and Matt Dunnigan victimized him once again.
Alphen has 66 yards as Dunnigan zeroes in on 400 passing yards. He could get it right here. Well, he can't find anybody to throw to, so he's going to run, and he steps out of bounds at the 27-yard line with 1:59 remaining.
Well, you know, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are not going to stop trying to score because this is an interconference game, and a lot of times in the CFL, it comes down to a point as far as positioning when it comes down to playoffs. And right here, it's not a matter of running up the score. It's trying to assure yourself of bracketing late in the season once playoff selections are made.
These teams will close out the season at Winnipeg Stadium on the 6th of November. Draw play with Blaze Bryant, first down Winnipeg. Not only did the Bombers keep the drive alive, but with the running play by Bryant and with a first down, they take some valuable time off the clock.
Well, they ran this play twice in the first half. It's called a shuttle pass where Matt Dunnigan will do a half roll left. You got Blaze Bryant sitting on the wing, and he comes underneath. Matt pitches the ball to him, and he picked up a first down once again with the play. Twice they picked up first downs on that particular play.
Actually, I think I said a draw play. That shovel pass is considered a pass, and that puts Dunnigan over 400 yards. And this adds to his total with Jamie Holland on the receiving end, very close to another first down.
Well, I guess this one is pretty close, Don, to being put away by the Blue Bombers with 1:28 remaining. The 47-34, but Matt Dunnigan 25 for 44, 416, 4 TDs, and 2 interceptions. Just a wonderful night once again for Matt Dunnigan here in Game 5 of the CFL season.
First and goal from the 5. Dunnigan throws, touchdown. Gerald Alphen on the receiving end of the Matt Dunnigan touchdown throw. 5 touchdown passes tonight for Matt Dunnigan.
Well, you see Alphen here breaking it off inside. Tommy Henry just can't keep up with him. The halfbacks tonight for the Argonauts have just been giving too much separation to these inside slots for Winnipeg. And Matt Dunnigan already has amassed 2,232 yards passing on the season in just 5 games.
Troy Westwood adds the point after. Dunnigan now with a league-high 15 touchdown passes and 2,232 yards. Let's see, how's your mathematical ability, James? Would that put him over 6,000 for the year quite comfortably?
How many games we gonna play? No, that only gives him over 2,200 right now. No, Matt Dunnigan has just put up numbers that are just mind-boggling when you look at it, what he has done, Don, already this season. And you know, the big blue machine, you see Cal Murphy, he's still coaching. Now, the intensity you see on his face with 1 minute and 9 seconds to go, he knows this is a 60-minute game. He is talking with his kicker, deciding what to do on this kickoff, where we're going to kick it to, whether we're going to squib it, lob kick it long. That's what a coach is supposed to do. You're supposed to be in there for 60 minutes, regardless win or lose. That's your job.
54-34, the Bombers lead. Dunnigan, the way he's going, could go over 7,000 yards this year.
Well, you know, last year he had the injury with the Achilles. I mean, he might have to watch out for one of those triceps or biceps the way he's throwing the football this year. Get a strain. He's thrown like a baseball pitcher this evening. I mean, he is just humming it in there. He has thrown strikes most of the night.
1:09 the time remaining here at Skydome, and the Bombers are going to temporarily move into sole possession of first place in the East.
Did I say strike in baseball?
Oh. Yeah, it looks very much as though there is going to be one. Bobby Gordon on the kickoff return gets to the 40-yard line. October 8th, 1967, the Argos embarrassed the Bombers in Toronto by a score of 53-0. And now the Bombers have racked up 54 points against Toronto. Brendan Rodgers always is involved in the midst of things on special teams.
And he got a little special treatment that time from the Argonauts as he was coming down. They made sort of a pinball out of him on that play. Kevin Smelly, Leon Hatziano bouncing him back and forth, and we're going to get a re-kick. The Bombers were offsides on the kickoff.
Bobby Gordon was the man who had returned the previous kickoff. And now he goes to the bench. Tommy Henry will take his place alongside Titus Dixon on the kickoff return team.
Well, the Argonauts right now trailing by 20 don't seem that they're going to have enough to come back, but they made quite a good showing here in the second half. When Reggie Slack came into the game, seemed like it might have been out of reach at that point, but Reggie Slack was able to pull them back within contention, get them within 2 touchdowns, but Matt Dunnigan was able to answer, willing that hot hand that he's been willing the first half of the season thus far, and get that separation and get the commanding lead at 54-34.
Dixon has this one bounce away from him and into the end zone. Bobby Evans wasn't fooled by the extra moves by Titus Dixon. He makes the tackle after a 24-yard run back. 54 seconds the time left.
Don, when you look at this game overall and see what has occurred tonight, Winnipeg came out and established themselves as a dominant team tonight. I think there had been some speculation coming into the game whether they had the consistency or even the drive to repeat as Eastern champs to get to the Grey Cup, because they've had an up and down schedule, only 500 coming in. But I think tonight with this showing, scoring 54 points, asserting themselves, equaling their season high that they produced against Edmonton earlier, that they're well on track to becoming that dominant team once again.
Bobby Gordon makes the catch and is then caught by Norris Thompson and thrown out of bounds. Norris Thomas seemed to have some problems, but he is up and limping back to the defensive huddle of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And on the other hand, when you look at the Toronto Argonauts, you have the quarterback dilemma that could be surfacing now. You had Mike Kerrigan, who had early in this season, who has had a couple of good first halves in the ball game. He's just not been able to get it done consistently for 60 minutes. He's been a good quarterback for 30, but he hasn't been a consistent quarterback for 60. You get Reggie Slack coming to the game tonight. He put up good numbers here in the limited time that he's had to work with. He's been able to move the ball club, get the ball around to his various receivers, and he showed a bit of poise in the pocket. He knew that the Bombers would be pinning back their ears coming after him, but he's been able to get the job done. And Coach Obilovich will have a serious question that he has to answer next week: who will be his #1 quarterback?
We said in the previous play that Norris Thomas seemed to be having some problems and was trying to stretch out his calf muscle on his left leg, and he stayed in for the next play, but now has gone down and is going to require some treatment. Maybe next week against the BC Lions, Bob Abilovich will opt to start Mike Kerrigan and switch quarterbacks at the half.
Well, earlier in his coaching career, you recall, he had the 2 quarterback rotation here with Condredge Holloway and Joe Barnes, and it was quite successful. It took him to a Grey Cup, got him a Grey Cup championship back in 1983, and he has a similar situation right here now with Mike Kerrigan, who gets off to the quick starts.
Now, hold it. You told me that you were responsible for this success in '83.
Well, I came over to make sure that they got there. But, you know, they had a wonderful offensive team that year. You had Terry Greer, Emmanuel Tolbert, Cedric Minner, Condredge Holloway, Joe Barnes in the backfield. And that was a team that could get the job done along with Paul Pearson.
Bobby Gordon on the receiving end of the throw. He takes it out of bounds with 29 seconds remaining. Winnipeg heading to its 3rd victory and its 1st on the road in this 1994 season, and Matt Dunnigan's first ever win as an opposing quarterback at Skydome.
Well, this has been an impressive way to get that monkey off of his back to come in and put up 54 points. Generally, you will win a football game if you can score 54 points, and Matt Dunnigan has proved that tonight.
Slack for Drage, and Drage was stripped of the ball by Donald Smith.
Well, Slack is still putting the ball on the money. He had a lot of pressure from Dale Lyles as he delivered that football. And you'll see right here as Lyles comes in and makes that hit on Slack, but he throws a nice tight ball and just a tremendous hit by Donald Smith, who was good to see him back in the game after that hit he had on the NACMO at the goal line. And he was on the sideline with his shoulder pads off, but great concentration by Slack, great hit by Smith.
22 seconds remaining. Slack is paying the price every time he cocks that arm to throw, because the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defenders are getting a shot at him. That time Stan Mikolas and Dal Lyles were both through on Reggie Slack. He's a big man, 6'2", 220 pounds, but he does have those wonky knees.
Well, Don, ever since he's come into the game, it's been no trick what he was going to do. You weren't going to fool the defense. They knew he had to throw the ball. There was a sense of urgency when you're trailing by 20, and so they've pinned their ears back and been coming after him.
Pass was intended for Dixon. Greg Clark had dropped back and was very close to intercepting.
Don, the big thing is, like we said, will the Argonauts make the quarterback change? Will they go through the quarterback rotation? It's going to be key. I think Winnipeg now has found that comfort zone offensively that they were looking for. They still need some defensive adjustments, giving up 34 points once again. That is going to be critical, and that's where Coach Cal Murphy, I think, now will put most of his concentration on the defensive side of the ball.
And Murphy has to be very happy tonight with the kicking of Troy Westwood. He said in practice during the past week, Westwood had looked more like the Troy Westwood of old, and he certainly did in tonight's football game. And Winnipeg will now move on to face Ottawa next Thursday night, while the Toronto Argonauts are in BC next Thursday, and that game between the Argos and the Lions we'll have for you on CBC television.
And there's still a question mark about the Argonaut kicking game. Wayne Lamley lined up for one early in the game. If he would have been able to make it, it might have been a different flow to the game. He missed it, as he's done on many occasions this year, and the defense was back on its heels once again.
An impressive performance by Matt Dunnigan as he wins his first ever game as a visiting quarterback at Skydome. The first road win of the season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 54-34 over the Toronto Argonauts. And Matt Dunnigan extends his personal totals to the year to what could wind up as a record season for the Bomber quarterback. Now let's go down to the sidelines, and here's Scott.
Okay, Don, I think it's pretty obvious this victory due in large part, if not entirely, to Eric Dunnigan and his wingmen like Gerald Wilcox. Gerald, is the best part of this win the consistency you seem to have established? Back-to-back wins for the first time this year.
Well, that's key. You know, we got beat up pretty bad in Calgary, and we had an early defeat in the year that hurt us pretty badly, so we knew that we had to come back and put a streak of wins together, and the most important thing was that they were division games, and that's key.
Numbers are everything for receivers, so let me be the first to break it to you. You were 8 for 175 and 2 touchdowns. We're in the middle of the field, and we can't really see it, but we're having a look at one of your touchdowns. Tell me this, you're not fooling anybody with your offense. Everybody knows where it's going through the air. Why is it so hard for other teams to stop?
Well, you know, we just have a lot of talent going across the board, and what happens then is they just can't double one or two guys up. You know, if they try to take one or two guys away, then we still pose a threat on the outside or the inside. So it's that big balanced attack that we have.
Is Matt Dunnigan in some sort of quarterbacking zone that you haven't seen before?
Well, that zone is a good word. When Matt gets in a zone and we have a good game plan together, and the fellas are healthy, he's unstoppable. And when we call the right plays and they give us the right looks, it makes it pretty tough.
It's early in the season, but have the Bombers established, despite the fact it's only week 5, that you are the team to beat in the East?
Well, there's a lot of good football teams to beat in the East. Ottawa played a fantastic game last night, and Baltimore took us to a tough one last week. So I think we've made a name for ourselves and that we're not going to roll over, you know, but there's a lot of good football teams still.
Gerald, thanks for your time. Enjoy the plane ride home tomorrow morning. It'll seem a lot shorter with this score.
Thanks very much.
All right, so until tonight, the Bombers had not won at Skydome since the second week of the 1990 season. That's over 4 years, but that negative streak is over now with a 54-34 victory over the Argonauts, and we'll return to Skydome in Toronto in just a moment.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by BC Tel, the official provider of telecommunications to the Commonwealth Games.
Bombers showing signs of consistency now. Winners of 2 in a row for the first time this year, and they've got their first road win of 94, 54-34, the final at Skydome tonight. Coming up tomorrow night on CBC Sports, Detroit at Skydome to face the Jays on speedy Blue Jays baseball, so it's another quick turnaround for the Skydome staff to get ready for that one. On Saturday, Russ Anber and I will have the Commonwealth Games boxing trials from Grand Prairie, Alberta, the final selection process for Canada's boxing team for Victoria. Our next football telecast a week tonight, Argos and Lions at BC Place. Note the 10 o'clock Eastern start time. And don't forget, our coverage of the Commonwealth Games begins on August 18th with the opening ceremonies. 90 hours of coverage from Victoria for 10 days in August. We're all looking forward to that. Skydome tonight. Matt Dunnigan and Gerald Wilcox padded their stats, and the Bombers moved into first place. Thanks for watching tonight, and good night from Skydome in Toronto.
CBC Sports, home of the champions.